audience.
Wing it. Okay, I'd like to call the March meeting of the Historic Preservation Commission to order. Jennifer, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Brown?
Present.
Commissioner Fudge?
Present.
Commissioner Meacham?
Present.
Commissioner Raymond Phillip? Commissioner Schultz? Commissioner Zacharitz? Mr. Chair, you have quorum.
Okay, thank you. I'd like to go over the procedure for the meeting that's on the back of the cover page for the agenda. The chairman will announce each case and ask interested parties to indicate their presence by raising their hand. Commissioners will discuss details of the case, calling on staff for additional details. Following this discussion, commissioners may choose to ask questions of the parties present. Interested persons may speak to support or protest the application. The applicant will be entitled to one brief rebuttal. Interaction between applicant and protestants on the floor is not permitted. Persons speaking are asked to approach the center podium one at a time to introduce themselves by name and address and to present their position as succinctly as possible. The Commission asks each speaker to limit his or her remarks to no more than 5 minutes. Following the public hearing on an application, the Commission will take one of the following actions. 1, approve the certificate of appropriateness. 2, continue the proposal. 3, deny the proposal with prejudice, which means the application may not be resubmitted for at least 1 year unless the Commission determines that circumstances have changed. Or 4, deny the proposal without prejudice, which means the applicant may, the applicant may reapply at any time. When an application has been approved and after a 10-day protest period has expired, the Historic Preservation Officer will mail the CA to the applicant. City construction permits cannot be issued until the CA has been issued. Contact HP staff for final design review inspection or to withdraw items that will not be completed. And finally, any person aggrieved by any decision granting or denying a CA may appeal to the Oklahoma City Board of Adjustment. All appeals shall be made within 10 days of the Commission decision by filing a written notice of appeal with the clerk of the BOA. Okay, with that, we'll go on to item 2. Katie?
I don't have anything to report. I just did want to say thank you to our applicants and members of the public who are in attendance. Having to cancel not 1 but 2 meetings in a row is not typical practice for us, and we realize what an inconvenience that is for everyone to have to reschedule and to have that delay. So thank you for your patience, and hopefully we get as many people as possible moving along today.
We're just glad we're here today. We'll go on to then the minutes of the previous meeting. Does anybody have any comments from the January 3rd meeting or a motion for approval or acceptance?
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of the meeting of the...
Okay.
I can't do that. I wasn't there.
Was that?
I'll make a motion to accept the meeting minutes and agenda from the January 3rd, 2020 meeting.
Okay, so moved by Taylor Fudge and seconded by Linda Schultz. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, the minutes are accepted. The code enforcement report. Anybody from the city or
I don't believe we have anyone from code enforcement today. As always, you can contact staff if you have questions about any of the code enforcement items. If they have an actual citation number, that means it's progressed from a notice of violation to an actual citation, and you can reference that number if you call the Action Center or code enforcement or HP staff.
Do they have a new standard? Because we have lots less on our list than we used to.
True.
Well, there's only 2 sheets. Usually there's like,
Yep, you're,
unless maybe they're missing, but,
correct.
okay, just,
yeah. I will look into that to see if there's, we used to have, it actually looks like maybe they've filtered down what they're giving us, the items. So, but I will check on that and follow up.
Microphone? Button?
Sorry. 2100 Northwest 27th Street looks like it's being prepped to, that we'll see a demolition. So I'm really sort of interested in its trajectory from 2015 was when when somebody bought it as an investment.
I believe we have seen this property already, actually, but I will, as a dilapidated structure, if it's the one that I'm thinking of. 'Cause it's on a corner in Shepherd. There was a house and there was a
27th
garage.
Street.
And I think we've already seen it. I think it went to council and was pulled for some reason and is perhaps starting back through the process. But I'll check on that one and confirm as well.
Well, it would just be nice to know something about these before they hit us with...
Yeah.
Okay. More comments on the code enforcement report? Okay. Continuance announcements and requests. Katie? Looks like there's none.
None and no new requests to announce.
Public hearings, dilapidated structures.
We have no dilapidated structures. We have 2 National Register nominations on our agenda, but we have to postpone those because there is a notice requirement that with the rescheduling of our meeting, we were unable to meet. So you'll see those again at a future HP Commission meeting.
Okay. Taylor?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to move item 8A to the top of today's agenda.
Okay, is there a second on that?
a second.
Okay, it's moved by Taylor Fudge and seconded by Joe Meacham. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, 8A will be next on our agenda. Katie?
Okay. 8A is an item to, if I can find it in the packet. This is an item to present the certificate for listing in the National Register of Historic Places by the State Historic Preservation Office to for the Capitol Hill Commercial Historic District. This is a nomination that the City of Oklahoma City undertook using our Certified Local Government program in partnership with the State Historic Preservation Office. And Sarah Wernicke is the National Register Coordinator in the Oklahoma State Historic Preservation Office, and I'll let her explain more about this presentation.
Okay.
Great. Welcome.
Thank you. As Katie stated, I'm Sarah Wernicke. I am the National Register of Historic Places Program Coordinator at the Oklahoma State Historic Preservation Office, and I am here today to give the presentation of the National Register of Historic Places certificate for the Capitol Hill Commercial Historic District. We usually do this during our annual conference, but since we are not doing the annual conference this year, we are trying something different. And we put it out to the CLGs, which is Certified Local Governments, which Oklahoma City is one of, to see where and when they would like to have these presentations done. And the City of Oklahoma City requested that we give it to the Historic Preservation Commission. So that is why I'm here today.
We're honored. Thank you.
Thank you. So I have a little spiel that we usually give whenever we give these presentations, so that is what I will do right now.
Okay.
All right. The National Register of Historic Places is a catalog of buildings, sites, structures, districts, and objects significant in our past. And the register is the foundation for all of the State Historic Preservation Office's programs. Listing in the National Register provides recognition, limited protections, and in some cases, financial incentives for these important properties. The State Historic Preservation Office identifies, evaluates, and nominates properties for this special distinction. This particular nomination was prepared for the City of Oklahoma City using in-part funds from the Oklahoma State Historic Preservation Office. The Capitol Hill Commercial Historic District was listed in the National Register of Historic Places for its association with community planning and development, as well as commerce. The district boundaries capture commercial development surrounded by residential neighborhoods, providing a historical and visual distinction of the concentrated efforts of community planning and development and the focused commercial development of the district throughout the period of significance from 1910 to 1974. Although the decline of the commercial core of Capitol Hill began in the mid-1960s, it was this singular event, the singular event being the construction of the mall. Thank you, so sorry. Which included the relocation of the district's largest retailers that marked the end of the commercial growth of the Capitol Hill Commercial Historic District. From its earliest days, Capitol Hill developed distinctly from the nearby Oklahoma City. As hopes of securing the state capital faded, residents of the Capitol Hill worked to maintain a sense of independence. In the first decades of the 20th century, Capitol Hill catered to the commercial needs of the ever-increasing numbers of residents choosing to live south of the Canadian River. Commercial development in Capitol Hill was concentrated along Avenue C, later renamed Southwest 25th, and eventually renamed again as Commerce Avenue. The buildings in the Capitol Hill Commercial Historic District reflect the important commercial growth of this community. It was listed in the National Register of Historic Places on July 15, 2019. On behalf of the Oklahoma State Historic Preservation Office, I would like to congratulate Capitol Hill and the City of Oklahoma City for gaining this special distinction and for their continued efforts to preserve our historic and architectural heritage.
Great.
I don't think that anybody from the Capitol Hill is here.
Yeah, is anyone here from Capitol Hill? Yeah, I don't think they were able to.
Okay, that is fine. Then we will give it to the City of Oklahoma City to then pass on to the community. So,
Sure.
we'll do a quick photo just to, sorry everyone. And I forgot my camera.
Very nice. On to, where are we?
Consent docket.
On to the consent docket, yes.
So we have 9 cases on the consent docket, and it's a combination of items from what was February's meeting and this meeting. The commission is welcome to ask questions about any of those items or ask that something be pulled for individual consideration, or we can take a motion to approve the consent docket as a whole.
Anybody have any comments, consent docket? Or a motion?
I have a question about the first one. I'm just wondering, it says to approve it using unique circumstances, but I'm not, what is the unique circumstance? It's not stated under, it is not, it says it's to approve with unique circumstances, but it doesn't state what the unique circumstance is.
Yep.
Which one are you talking about?
The fence, and then it goes on to say that the
C1.
fence shall not exceed 6 feet on either side. Earlier in the information, it said that it'll go up to 7.5 feet as part of the arch. Is that the unique circumstance?
I think that fourth finding, that the scale and ornamentation of the dwelling are not typical of the district and may warrant a taller decorative gate, should transparency provide a clear view of the side of the structure, probably should also be the unique circumstance. But we can pull that to, let's pull that one for.
Let's pull it.
For separate.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So have to make a motion to pull it?
No, right, they don't have to. No.
Okay. I do not have drawings for HPCA 20-00027. I'm sorry, I read my packet this morning.
It's not stapled together.
Or if I did, they're making... Okay.
Okay, where are we?
Second floor. But number 9 of the consent docket, I just didn't think I had the drawings, maybe, not really.
Did others have?
I think I
drawings?
did, I don't know, when I went back, I couldn't find them,
I have some drawings.
but, okay,
They're on the back. Well, there they are. Yeah.
okay. Can I check staff's comments?
This is for we're pulling C1, right?
C1 is pulled, and
C1's pulled.
we are looking at C9 for a moment.
Okay, that's okay.
Okay, so just C1.
Well, wait a minute, let me look
Line.
at 27.
Linda,
Okay, back to C9. Are we good on C9?
yes.
Okay. Do you have a question on which one?
Well, I was trying to see which one that was. Okay. No, I had it confused with another one. I wanted to be sure got
Okay, so you're
our
good?
consideration.
Okay.
Well, the other one is, if the staff could explain to me what the unique circumstances were on the fence with the tree.
Which ones? C?
Second.
631 Northwest 20th, relocating.
Yes.
That's C3.
C3. The next one, okay?
Did you want to pull that, or?
Yeah,
just
I did.
ask? Okay.
Which one?
All right. C3.
66.
Okay. Well, we're getting a lot of made pulled this month. And my packet's not organized very well.
Okay, so we have remaining C2, C4, C5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
So which ones?
correct?
Which one did we pull?
So we pulled C1 and C3.
Okay, C1 and C3. Okay. Trying to. This wasn't. There we go. So C3 is pulled. Okay, so everything except C1 and C3. Is that right?
Yes, we could take a motion to approve the remaining items.
All right. Wow, that was fun. All right. Anybody like to make a?
I would make a motion to approve all items on the consent docket with the exception of 1 and 3.
1 and 3. Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Moved by Joe Meacham, second by Taylor Fudge. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Consent docket revised is approved. On to cases for an individual consideration. Katie?
Okay, so we are going to hear items C1 and C3 from the consent docket first, under cases for individual consideration. If you were on that consent docket and you were item 2 or items 4 through 9, if you've looked at the agenda, then your application is approved and you are free to go. Yeah, that's the appropriate response. And you'll receive your certificate of appropriateness in the mail from staff. Yes, 4 through 9. So I'll read off the addresses real quick because it's a lot of cases. So 507 Northwest 24th, you're approved. 1016 Northwest 14th is approved. 400 Northwest 16th. 1012 Northwest 14th. 908 Northwest 18th. 2141 Northwest 27th. And 545 Northwest 38th. So we'll start under cases for individual consideration with C1, HPCA 18-59 at 431 Northwest 17th Street, Heritage Hills, Ward 6. Consideration and possible action on application by Sam Gresham Architects for Robert Abernathy for certificate of appropriateness to 1, request second extension of all items of the previously approved proposal for 1 year, including amendments of the originally approved items, and 2, request a revision to the previously approved fence revision that includes the installation of a decorative iron driveway gate.
Okay, is the applicant present? Okay. Any comments on this or questions?
I would just comment that, and I guess it's kind of a
Staff?
question to staff on unique circumstances, is that it doesn't seem like we've on the consent docket before, maybe we have and I haven't noticed, but it seems like we haven't had unique circumstances decided by staff. Maybe that, there was like several on this one. And so, and then this one, it didn't say, so, and that, I understand, it was just probably wasn't an intentional kind of thing, but I think that, anyway, on this, so my question is, do we do that regularly? I'm not opposed necessarily, I'm just asking.
We do occasionally put cases that have a recommendation for approval with unique circumstances on the consent docket when there are no conditions, no additional information required from the applicant, and when we think it's a pretty clear-cut case. This month, with so many cases, we took kind of a line of, if we've recommended approval, and if there are not conditions or additional requirements of the applicant, we're going to put them on the consent docket, just for expediency, knowing that if anybody had any concerns, we could still pull those.
Okay.
Well, I had a question. On the first one we got, it said under number 2, R3, that it was to approve the gate, and that was effective. I didn't know exactly what effective meant as opposed to required.
I think that should say elective. I think that is a typo.
Okay. And under the considerations, the presentation says, no documentation has been provided to illustrate that this property or structure is unique to the district in such a way that a taller gate should be determined to be the most appropriate treatment. So then it was the follow-through that we would determine that somehow, without any documentation, that this was a unique situation?
So all of the guidelines that we have for fencing and gates are under the category of administrative approval. And beyond what can be administratively approved is the commission's discretion to evaluate what's appropriate within those much broader guidelines about things that are compatible with the character of the property in the district. So,
but is it historically compatible, or because the sense I got from the justification was that it's just a big house? I mean, is that a historically compatible gate that there are historic examples of across the community kind of thing?
So with most of the fencing that we see, there's no historic precedent. People did not have large driveway gates. People did not have 6-foot cedar cap and trim fencing anywhere in these neighborhoods. And when you look at historic street views of these neighborhoods, there's very little in the way of any sort of fencing. So we really look more at, is it compatible with the property? Is it so large or so ornate that it overwhelms the scale and the character of the property? And we typically have not recommended approval of fencing that exceeded the height limits under any conditions, but did feel like with this property and the size of the house and the site, the gate did not appear to be inappropriate.
So all properties that are sizable?
I think at a property that is that large and on that large of a site, there is the potential for a fence that exceeds the height limit to be appropriate. But we would always leave that to the commission's review.
I'm not necessarily opposed, but I think that the way that it was worded, it kind of says, we don't agree with this, but we're going to create a unique circumstance for it anyway, kind of. I mean, because I'm with Linda. When you say that there's no documentation to illustrate that it's unique, and then we say, well, but it is unique because it's big. I mean,
And what is unique?
So, I mean, I understand what you're saying. It is, I can see how this type of fence, as long as it was 6 feet on the sides, it is fine, but I think that it, just the way it was written made it confusing. And then under, when you say approved for unique circumstance and we don't have the unique circumstance, then I think if that would have been there. So I'm not opposed, but it's confusing. It's like, what is the precedent? I'm with Linda. Does that mean that all houses, then, if you consider grand, which grand is really not a, can't really define that.
Right.
So, anyway.
That was sort of what I was trying to, I mean, I would like for people to be relatively certain of what kind of interpretation of the standards that they can expect from the commission.
Right. With all this building, I mean, everybody looks at that. They're just going to run right to us and say, okay, I want one too. So I just want to be sure that when we read it, that when they come to you, oh, well, you're a unique circumstance too. I mean, their house is grand to them. I mean, what is grand? So anyway, I'm not opposed to it. I would make a motion to approve HPCA 18-00059 with, I have to add to that, with the specific findings under number 1 and under 2, with the specific findings, and add, let's see, okay, it's going to have to add unique circumstances are that that the fence on each side does not exceed 6 feet in height. However, the decorative arch brings it to 7.5 feet. Is that clear? That's a unique circumstance, that the arch is on there.
Probably
So the
it's not-
fence is not 6 feet?
I mean, the fence is 6 feet on both on the sides. It only goes to 7.5 in the middle where the arch goes.
You might say in a insignificant length or minor or not, you know what I mean? It's just one area. It's not the whole fence.
Right. It comes to a peak in the middle.
Yeah, in the center.
Okay,
only.
so let me, before I finish, so we can have a 6-foot fence, though, if it's pushed back and transparent. There's not a problem with that.
Correct. Yep. The rest of it was in compliance.
Okay, so the only part was the arch that was over the 6 feet.
Correct.
Okay. Okay. Just needs to clearly state that the arch is the unique circumstance for allowing that to be because I wouldn't want somebody to come back in and say, well, I want my fence to be 7.5 feet. It has to be 6 feet. The decorative element added an additional 1.5 foot. Is that okay?
A minor element or something.
Okay. Thank you.
I'll second that motion.
Moved by Joe Meacham and seconded by Taylor Fudge. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, C1 is approved with unique circumstance. On to C2? Then we pull-
C3
C3.
is the other one that we were going to.
I got confused. C3. All right.
HPCA 19-166 at 631 Northwest 20th Street, Mesca Park, Ward 6. Consideration and possible action on application by Danny Owsley for certificate of appropriateness to 3 relocate fence required.
Okay, applicant present? Okay, there he is. You come to the podium, please, sir. And sign in and state your name and address.
It's Danny Owsley, 631 Northwest 20th.
Okay, thank you. All right, any questions for the applicant? Who pulled this? Was that Linda?
Yeah. is it Mr. Owsley? Am I saying that correctly?
Yes, ma'am.
This fence is already built, right? Is it already built?
Yes.
And it's how close to the sidewalk?
It's against the sidewalk.
My question on this one, and I'm not going to make you tear your fence down. But my question on this one was, because it was in the consent agenda, that is a tree in Heritage Hills a unique circumstance? Because we normally just build around the trees, or as opposed to up against the sidewalk. And the point of that is to maintain the historic feel of the neighborhood as best we can. The standards actually say you can't build a fence on a corner lot. So to sort of mitigate that closing off and the obstruction of a kind of historic view across the neighborhood that fences do, if you push it right up against the sidewalk, well, then you sort of double whammy to all of that. So I wasn't exactly sure how we got to, and that was really just a question for the staff, to this fence being okay up against the sidewalk as a site blocking fence because of a tree.
Largely, we're looking at 2.8.7 that says if an adjacent corner property side yard has an existing fence or fence wall, then consideration shall be given to align to the same setback as the existing fence or fence wall. And there were, if I remember correctly, there were a number of properties adjacent to this one that have a fence right at the sidewalk. And the fence that it was replacing, not that it was historic, but the fence that was being replaced was also right at the sidewalk. Adding the complications of the tree and the utilities in the way of the fence setback, staff felt comfortable supporting it being located at the sidewalk.
Well, when you say adjacent, usually when we're talking about making exceptions for fence lines, it's because it runs up to the neighbor's fence, not neighborhood fences.
Right.
I mean, it would be the fence next door. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, that's when we've made exceptions. We understand that. We don't, if the old fence from the neighbor is in a weird place, then we've let people put their fence there if it makes more sense sometimes.
Well, and the fact that there are other fences, it's not compelling to me. I mean, it's not really what I look at. It's kind of this site, this time, this application. Because I don't know how those other fences got there. So that's just sort of my question. If we're going to start running fences up, 7-foot fences up to the sidewalks, then we're going to materially change the historic look of that neighborhood, which wouldn't matter if it were a back fence, but you're on a corner, so it's more of a consideration. And you got kind of caught up in this, sorry, but that's really my concern on that one, and I just wanted to mention it.
Okay.
But
Could make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we approve case number HPCA 19-00166 to relocate the fence with the specific findings in the presentation.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
It's been moved by Linda.
Thanks, Mr.
Thank you.
It's been moved by Linda Schultz and seconded by Taylor Fudge. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. C3's been approved. Thank you. On to now D1.
Yes. HPCA 19-66, Revision 1 at 631 Northwest 20th Street, Nesta Park, Ward 6. Consideration, and this is actually the same property as what we just heard. Consideration and possible action on application by Danny Owsley for certificate of appropriateness for revision to item 4, revise previously approved item 1, construct garage, to include the following changes: use smooth smart side products, relocate pedestrian door, close eaves, and install 3-inch can light at soffit rather than wall-mounted fixtures, elective. Now, this is a garage that was approved previously, and they wanted to change the siding material and make a revision to where the pedestrian door is located. It'll still be within the backyard, just changing it on the location on the garage. And then revising the light fixtures that had been approved previously.
Mr. Also, would you like to come back up? It's a coincidence that you ended up right after each other. Okay. Any questions for the applicant on this one?
We've had can lights come before us before, and we have not approved them, I thought.
So we've been, staff has talked about this one with these can lights, and we have been discouraging can lights on the installation of can lights on historic properties. We felt like in this case it might be less of a concern because it is a new construction garage. You're not interrupting historic materials, and they are located only at the pedestrian door and the garage doors. They're not rimming the building, with an excessive amount of light.
I don't think it follows the guidelines of being compatible with, I'd be more inclined to see a more modern light fixture on the wall than a can light. And plus, I don't know if I'd want it next door to me if my neighbor had can lights going down the side of their garage. In this situation, you might not have them, but a lot of people leave on their lights. I would just say it's not appropriate, in my opinion, to have can lights just about anywhere.
So where were you planning on installing the can lights? I'm not clear.
Above each garage door. Each door is 9 foot, and just above each garage door, and the light would be a 3K, which is a soft yellow light.
In the soffit,
yes.
above each door?
Yes.
Okay. I was thinking they were in a lower, like an overhang, but they're not. They're in the soffit. So
One, sir, is in the overhang above the pedestrian door that comes through the garage. So
On
there'll
the
be
side.
3 total.
on the side, 3 total.
Yes.
The ones in the soffit, in the eave, we'll call it, the ones that to me are more objectionable. Because they're
I just
high.
don't really see the point in having can lights in the historic district when it's traditional to put a exterior side light by pedestrian doors
Or you
on
could put
either
a-
side of the garage doors.
Or you could put some type of a fixture.
Or something over a door.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I just don't think,
A shade type.
we've told other people no on different things. I know it's on a garage, but to me, once again, we're just,
I kind of agree with that.
I just don't think it's appropriate.
But I agree with that.
Happy to approve the rest of it.
Are you, no concerns about smart side anymore?
No, we've already approved that.
Yeah, okay. All right. So are you okay with that?
What's your thoughts?
Well, I'm a builder. I'm in construction. To me, can lights, and I understand what you're talking about, the historical, because we take great pride in our house, and they're not a big 6-inch fixture. They're a small 3-inch wafer, basically, is what they're called now, above each door, and they're just going to cast
Right.
a minimum of light down to highlight. In fact, the ones we're putting in have a turning bulb, so it'll shine down on the garage doors.
It's just, I understand what a can light is, but I just don't think that type of lighting design is appropriate in the historic district. And every garage that we have come before us, we always have that light that, staff can approve those lights. The commission doesn't have to approve the light fixture itself, but I just think that it gives a different look. It's not compatible with the historic district guidelines.
So you recommend a wall sconce?
Yes, and those are...
They were already approved for those. Sorry,
Oh, yeah, they are
the
approved,
CA
okay.
already included light fixtures. They were wanting to revise that.
Okay.
So
All right.
if the decision is not to approve that revision, then you don't need to take any other action on the lights. We did list this all as one item, so you'd have to make a motion that specifies that the light fixtures are not included in the approval of the revision.
Okay. Any more comments? No questions? Guys, okay?
I would make a motion to approve HPCA 19-00066 with the specific findings, one, noted in the staff report under item 1, number 1, 2, and 3, 1, 2, and 3 only. So I don't know how to,
And then I would, with the conditions, approve with conditions and change the condition to be that.
okay, approve with the conditions that the original exterior light fixtures as approved in the first, that were approved in the first application remain as part of the application.
Okay.
I have one question.
Yes,
On
sir.
the previous, on the fence, it was approved to leave where it is or relocate?
So leave it where it is.
Okay,
Yep.
perfect. Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Oh, the previous, okay, I see what you're saying now. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Is there,
I'll second Commissioner Meacham's motion.
okay, so moved by Joe Meacham, seconded by Taylor Fudge. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, D1 is approved with modification. Okay, next.
HPCA 19-141 at 805 Northwest 41st Street, Crown Heights, Ward 2, consideration and possible action on application by Joshua Jones for certificate of appropriateness to 5 install driveway gate elective. And this is another driveway gate that is above the height limit because it has an arch in the center.
Okay.
Different setting. It's it's a wide driveway span, 2-story houses on either side.
Is the applicant present? No? Okay. What is the height of the side of the gate? Is it 5 foot? I can't read that.
It spans from 6'10" to 8 feet tall.
And the applicant has applied for this in order to match the height of the gate directly abutting this location. They have not verified the actual height of that gate, though, so I would like a condition to verify the height of the gates if you approve it as is.
Sorry, since they're not here, maybe we should continue it.
Okay.
Are they ready?
Do you have questions?
Well, if the consensus is that we're not going to support a gate of that height in a location of this type or that sort of thing, then we could act on it one way or the other. But we can continue it so that they can respond to any questions you have, as well as questions about the height of the adjacent gate.
I mean, say that I would
The other
not
would be
support it.
that the photographs, and this would be a suggestion perhaps, is when you take an application, maybe we should add that you're giving the city permission to take a photograph of the actual thing that we're talking about.
It does say that on the application
Because we
form.
don't
They
get
authorize us to
sometimes-
do that, but
Okay.
depending on the
Right.
access that we get.
I mean, but the gate is not open on the neighbor's side when the photograph was taken. And that's another reason that it was difficult to know. And there's not a picture of the gate included in is there
Yeah, there's a drawing.
a drawing?
So-
I mean, that would be the other, is that I think that this is part of why I'm reluctant, is that the documentation, I don't think, is
So you'd like
complete. But I don't
continue
think
it.
that we can I would just assume do a continuance.
I think I would too, and it may be that the applicant is amenable to a fence that fits within the size and scope of what we would be able to administratively approve, and I guess I would prefer to continue and ask those questions.
And I'm not even not amenable to matching the gate, but I don't feel like that we have that verifiable proof that they're going to match the gate. I mean, that's all. I mean, we don't have a.
Did I miss why there's no photographs?
There is a photograph.
There's
There's
a-
a neighboring gate that they
It's
were-
open,
they
so
were
you
matching.
can't-
It's not shut, so you can't see the gate.
Well, you
We
can
could
in this
ask
overhead
them
thing,
to-
but you can't really.
Staff goes out and takes pictures, and if it's not open, it's not open.
Right.
But we could
I
certainly
mean, I
ask
think they
them
should have
to
supplied.
provide-
I mean, that would be up to the applicant perhaps to do, just a better job of
Documented.
documenting.
Okay.
Okay, I would make a motion to
Continue it.
continue, figure out which one, to continue HPCA 19-00141 to the,
So we can do April 1st, and they have virtually no time to get us anything new. Although if all we need is a photo of their neighbor's gate, that's probably fairly manageable.
Well, from my point of view, that's not a reason the neighbor's gate. So, I mean, there has to be something that makes this compelling enough to go outside of the guidelines, and I don't have a definition of a grand house, so.
Well, perhaps we do May 6th, since they are not here now. That way we have more time to work with them on any other information that they could provide.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Moved by Joe Meacham, second by Taylor Fudge. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, D2 is continued to May. On to D3.
HPCA 19-159 at 724 Northwest 18th Street, Master Park, Ward 6. Consideration and possible action on application by Noah McCarty for certificate of appropriateness to 1, replace existing second-story addition at rear elective, and 2, replace deck elective. The Commission saw this application previously and requested the applicant make some revisions to the design. I emailed you some additional documentation, and you've also got copies at your seats of the elevation drawings that the applicant provided. Changes included lowering the wall of the second-story addition so that it better aligned with existing architectural features, illustrating the deck that's to be built in conjunction with the addition, and showing the modifying the design and the size of the support columns to make it look more substantial than what was there previously.
Okay, is the applicant present? Okay.
Hi, Noah McCarty, 724 Northwest 18th.
Okay, welcome. Yeah, I see on the new rear elevation, they changed the, basically the soffit to align with the eave line of the house. I think it looks better, personally.
Yeah, I agree. That was your recommendation.
It was.
I brought it down about 14 inches to be on the same plane. They have 2 different planes for some reason, so now it just brings it down to 1.
Yeah. Okay. Any comments? Anybody? Do you remember it?
I'll just make a comment. I just feel like that these type of drawings are not sufficient to make good decisions. I think since they're back for the second time and I wasn't here the first time, I'm not going to not want to approve it, but I think it makes it very difficult for myself before I come to a commission meeting to look at these kinds of drawings that are not detailed, and that we just can't. I can't even. When it's not a drawing that an inspector can't take out in a year and make for certain that it's done, I think it's not, we're not going in the right direction. With a 2-story addition or something, we need more specific drawings. I don't think it's fair to anybody. I don't think giving them to a contractor is, that anybody really knows what's going to happen with that. I mean, there could be more discussions, but that just means there could be more changes, and then they wouldn't be approved because they weren't detailed in the beginning. So you get out there and you're like, oh no, we're going to have to do this instead of that. And then you're just going to do it, and it's not going to be part of the record. And that's my concern. But if they responded to your comments, Alan, and you feel like that they feel that staff does, so.
As far as a alignment and massing type comment, now details, that wasn't the comment I was making, but
I just think sometimes that when this happens, and like I say, you get out there and it gets built, that there is disappointment, not maybe just for us, but perhaps for you, because you don't know exactly what you're going to get when when you don't have very specific drawings, because changes will have to be made, and then you're not in compliance. If you don't do exactly what these little drawings say, then you're not going to be in compliance. And I think it's very hard to follow these kinds of drawings and get it built exactly. So that's all.
the building permit might require a little more information. That would be,
What?
building permit might require
Right.
more information, like a foundation
Can you get a
plan.
building permit with these kinds of drawings?
I think they're sketchy. I think they'll want
So if
Footing,
if
wall
that would be-
section detail, footing detail, scaled plan. Have you talked to Development Services yet?
A little bit.
I mean, that would be the other, wonder if you take, we approve this, then you get down there, and then they tell you, no, you've got to do more drawings. Then, if any of those drawings require any changes, you are going to have to come back and get it approved again. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't turn in exterior drawings to know that, to know if that's what they will take or not. So, I don't know. What
Yeah,
is your
really, our
thought, Katie?
requirements should be about what it requires for a building permit, with
Right.
additional documentation, really, that they don't really care about, but we do.
I mean, Katie, can you get a building permit? with
Residential,
these?
they want a site plan so that they can see
Right.
how close you are to the property line. They want a floor plan so that they can evaluate things like whether you have egress,
Right.
that kind of thing.
On
They will
exterior,
want.
they're just...
I don't know all the details of what they want structurally because we don't usually
Right.
ask for that because that's not our
Right.
purview. And people would be able to supply additional materials along those lines and not have to come back to us. But, you know, it's definitely a different standard for residential versus
Yeah.
commercial, but they do need to have accurate drawings and dimensions and show, you know, openings, size of openings, that sort of thing.
I did have a question that you could answer. On the balustrades, they're not, I could not find a size on the, you have the top rail, but I did not see a size on the
You're talking about
On
the
the- on
deck
the-
railing?
deck railing.
Yeah, so whenever I met with Katie, she proposed that I kind of put the deck railing in there just for visualization, just to kind of see like the overall width of the add-on, the heights of the column, here's the deck. I did submit some documentation about the balusters and the deck. I don't know if you printed that off, but from the very beginning, I was planning on doing the deck at a later date, and then you recommended that we put that drawing in here just for visualization. And so now I don't really know where that leaves us with, if I'm also here getting the deck approved today, or, you know, like back in the beginning, if we're just going to do that at another time.
Well, rear deck is in the items for consideration.
So we talked about that part of the appearance of the addition was, that the appearance of the addition was affected by the fact that it sits on a deck, and that if the deck is not shown, even though there's one currently existing, they intend to put one back, it might not be at the same time as the addition, but that there'll be a deck there. Not showing that as part of the documentation alters the appearance of the proposed addition. So we included that kind of with the understanding that staff can typically approve a deck in and of itself, and if elements of the deck were to need to be revised at a later date, the railing needs to change, that kind of thing, that we could potentially handle that administratively. So there's not a lot of detail on the deck. We did have, there's a...
But because the drawing, the site plan or the floor plan for, that's on page 9 of 23, and also 23, shows a deck, but the railing, it doesn't match the new drawing that was submitted after you submitted your packet of the rear addition. The railing and the location of the deck doesn't match the other drawing. Or maybe it does, I don't know, maybe the railing keeps on going or something. The other, on this one, you have two sets of stairs shown. Mine look existing, well, there's this and that. That says existing. This is proposed. That goes all the way across. This one has stairs. This one doesn't have stairs.
I think a part of why I didn't include the deck originally was I thought I read something about they need to be 6 feet or so on the back of the house to be approved. Is that not correct?
For what?
6 feet in height?
What?
A deck on the back of a house needs to be 6 feet or greater in height, or they don't need approval?
No, the 6 feet in height limit is if it's less than 6 feet and it doesn't require a permit, then it doesn't require a CA.
Okay.
You can see it from the street. I think that's what you're
Gotcha.
referring to.
I have a question about the design for the columns on the back deck / second story on page, actually in the additional information that was passed out, it shows the column design. It's kind of a paneled type design. It shows a detail.
The extra paper.
It's not numbered, but
That's what he turned in.
right there.
Yeah, I see it.
On page 17 of 23, it has a different column design. Just wondered if it has been changed.
What's the other page you're looking at?
Excuse me?
The other page that you're
17 of 23 in the staff report.
Yeah, so originally I just kind of put something together because I wasn't for sure. I was going to use 6 by 6 columns, and then based on your recommendation last time, so that's just an old dated picture. So based off your recommendation last time, I went straight to my architect, and we redrew these to be 16 by 16 flat panel. So if you see that picture of that white
Yeah,
column.
I just wondered which one is correct.
Yep, so some of the attachments that were in your packet are the old ones that were supposed to have been replaced, and
Okay.
they didn't get replaced when the packet went out. So
Makes
that,
sense.
the new materials that are at your seat that show the deck going all the way across the back of the house with 3 squares, that's the current plan. And then the columns that are drawn with the cap and base are current, what's currently proposed.
What's the height for the deck railing?
Of the deck railing.
The height doesn't say, I don't think.
Yeah, the deck is 3 feet above the ground. Deck railing would be 3 feet above that,
3
so
feet?
6 feet.
Okay, that works. Okay. Any questions from anybody? Comments? Their motion.
I would make a motion to approve HPCA 19000159, items 1 and 2, with, let's see, I don't think we had any specific findings.
Specific.
With specific findings as noted in the staff report. Anything else we need to add to that?
In the condition.
What's our condition on this one? With the condition that all materials be selected to meet relevant guidelines for this particular edition as well.
Okay.
Second the motion.
Moved by Taylor Fudge, seconded by Joe Meacham. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Been approved.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So as far as the deck, when I'm ready to do that, what do I need to do?
So you'll have the CA for all of it, for the addition and the deck.
Okay.
And if you decide 2 months from now that there's something about the deck you want to revise, you contact staff. And if it's something minor that we can administratively approve, we'll do that. If not, it would be a revision that would have to come back to the commission.
Great. Thank you.
All right. On to D4.
HPCA 19-165 at 626 Northwest 15th Street, Heritage Hills, Ward 6. Consideration and possible action on application by Reed Schindler, Schindler Design Co. for Brian Carlozzi for certificate of appropriateness to 1, replace driveway elective, 2, install paving, or 3, install paving and backyard elective, and 4,
back in
install brick
action.
walk elective. Commission reviewed this previously and approved portions of the proposed work, and they're back with the driveway and paving elements in the backyard.
Okay, is the applicant present? Great.
Reed Schindler, Schindler Design Co., representing the Carlozzi residence, 626 Northwest 15th.
Okay.
Can you tell us what you have changed, if anything, from on these 3 items from the last presentation?
Yeah, so we initially we had a whole new driveway design. So what we did is took the existing driveway, and the shape and everything is the exact same driveway. Due to drainage issues, it's definitely in need of repair. So while we're doing the flat work for the swimming pool, we thought it would be best to go ahead and take care of those drainage issues. Initially, we thought we would try to kind of use more of a linear design, but in respect of what the board's opinion was last time, we thought that to keep it more of the historical look, we would keep it to the exact same layout. I think the kind of make or break thing here, or the things that we've had discussions on, are the trim pieces that go outside of it. I guess in my past, we've always seen it as it's a trim piece. It's not part of the driveway, but I think there's some opinion here that we're trying to widen the driveway or something along those lines. So it wouldn't be any sort of structural deal. It wouldn't be advisable to drive on it or anything along those lines.
So it's the same driveway, the same material?
Yeah, I mean, as close as we can. It's not going to look exact. It's going to look new, but yeah, it'll be no color, no texture, nothing like that, just broom concrete.
So you're draining it onto the street?
I mean, right now it drains right into the middle of it, but it's supposed to drain out. It's just cracked kind of towards the middle. So yeah, we're going to tie in some of the other drainage systems as well, but yes, a majority of it will go down into the street.
Did I hear you say the concrete was just going to look like concrete?
I mean, it's just the broom concrete.
Because in the specific findings, we have the new concrete shall match the aged appearance of the existing in design details, color, and texture.
Yes, but as you know, if you pour new concrete, it's not going to match, 20-year-old, 30-year-old concrete.
Are you saying that you're not going to add any color to the concrete?
Yes, no, we will not add any color, no.
Okay.
There's
Could you
no
speak
color
to that, Katie,
currently.
please?
So we don't have a specific technique that we tell people to do when they are trying to match the aged appearance, color, finish, et cetera, of the historic concrete, but we don't want it to be bright, shiny, white, new concrete. It's supposed to match surrounding historic concrete, remaining historic concrete. Sometimes people do add a color, sometimes people do an acid wash to age the concrete. There are a number of different methods. We tend to leave that up to property owner and their contractor on the best way to achieve that, but we don't want it to go in and look like bright white new concrete at a shopping mall.
Okay.
Kind of thing.
Yeah, we can investigate it, and I've never been asked to do that, so yeah, we'll.
It isn't, the way it's written, it would appear, if you say that in specific findings, doesn't that means that it's included in their application, or in their, because if it wasn't included, it'd be under conditions. I'm just asking because he said he was just moving concrete. And so, did the application actually state that they were going to have an aged appearance, or does that need to be moved to
I think it probably needs
to a
to be in
condition.
both places. I think the finding is intended to indicate that it's required, but it should probably be a condition as well.
Okay.
And you're okay with eliminating the decorative paving strip?
Yeah, I mean, I think from the street side was kind of what we had discussed. On the other side, in the planter beds, I don't know if it makes a difference if it's inside of a planter bed. So I think that was kind of I brought another drawing that I had talked with the homeowner where we removed, there's currently a brick planter strip. I'm not sure if you guys have a picture of that. It's just a little further to the left of that tree on the other side. But it's ground level. It's just their house brick, and it's just a kind of a free-form type of trim piece. So we were actually going to trim with that instead on the street side. So you would see no evidence of there being any sort of concrete strips or anything within the design.
Okay, I'm not sure what they're proposing to do then. Katie's the staff recommendation says condition would be removing the decorative paving strip.
On it only a couple sides, correct?
On the north and south sides of the approach and driveway,
Yes,
and from
yeah.
the west side of the driveway and backup lane. And that drawings reflecting the recommended change be provided to staff.
Yes.
Didn't say anything about an alternative design, just the removing. So do you have another proposal?
It's just something I drew up to see if they would like that. But
You know about this, Katie?
yeah, I mean, that's all the proposal.
We haven't talked about it. I don't know if you've talked with Angela. I mean, typically, our driveways don't have any kind of edging. It's just plain concrete.
Yes.
So the staff recommendation was to leave it plain concrete along the edge closest to the street.
Yes.
At the approach and then on the street side, and not add other details.
Yeah, completely agree with that.
So does that mean we're comfortable with the decorative edging once it's past the fence then? Are we saying that, or are we saying we're not really comfortable with the decorative edging, period?
Well, staff had left the decorative edging components that were more within the interior of the yard,
Okay.
that those could remain. But that's up to the commission.
Yeah, and our new
I thought we had
design.
a lot of discussion about
Yeah.
the kind of size of all that in the backyard, and that there was some discussion around reducing some of the
Pavement?
Have you done that? Maybe
Yes.
just I'll let you finish.
Yes, ma'am. It is on the back side of near the pool equipment. We had a large pad there initially. We reduced that, we just eliminated that pad before. That's gone, and then we took just a little bit of the square footage. The driveway itself, because we went back to the original, it reduced it by about 150 square feet, I believe. So we ended up taking off as close to like 280 square feet total off the concrete.
Okay.
From the initial proposal. Yeah, and we took it a step farther, and we're actually, with the new one, I'll give to Katie, but on the new revision of the design, with the strips, the concrete strips, we're actually not even taking them inside the fence. We're going further back to where it will be all hidden behind planter beds. There will be no visual of it.
So all the planters stay the same as the original drawing? Or all the structures that you had in there?
Correct, yes. Yeah, nothing is moved as far as that. At that point, we only had the 18-inch seat wall on the back side of the driveway.
By the pool?
Yes, that's already been approved, so that is
That's
already
the only one.
installed, so hopefully that doesn't change.
So there'll be a new plan submitted showing all these changes?
Yes, I mean, I can.
Well, that's what it says in the
Yep.
staff report. I believe drawings reflected the recommended change be provided to staff prior to release of CA.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm okay with staff approving.
As long as the drive it's like all the other drives. I mean, they're all period drives, so they're a little straight in concrete of the era color without a lot of, I mean, they're just drives for Model Ts, so.
Yep, and that was the biggest change in the secondary
I think they've agreed to
submittal.
remove those strips. Is that what we're still talking about? Yeah.
I don't really understand that part about it. I can't tell from these.
The strips? If you look at the renderings that he's got, there are those strips.
I don't know what that
Strips
looks like. I mean, I have.
Yeah. They're kind of,
It's hard to get a good feel of what those strips look like. I
Yeah.
prefer just to have them removed and not have the decorative strips. And that's something I could certainly get comfortable with.
so the
Well-
sides facing the street will have the strips removed, basically. Is
It's a
Absolutely.
corner lot.
that right? Okay.
Is it going to, I'll tell you, I have no idea what it's going to look like. Is it going to look like the pictures that are in here?
Those were the ones that we submitted, but for approval. But when we got the last packet to come here, that said that they would not approve the street side one. So it'll look exactly like those pictures that were submitted, minus the street side. Yep.
Minus the what?
The street side.
The strips on the street side.
The strips.
Minus the landscape strips at the street side.
Is this
Facing the
So-
street.
Where, yep. So within the yard, the paving will
approach
still
of the
have the
driveway.
decorative landscape.
Is it going to look like
strips.
this?
Yes.
Without,
But without that?
yeah.
No, it'll still have the strips. I mean, it will still have that layout. The
Right.
portion closest to the street where it has the landscape strips coming in from up the
There
driveway. Yep,
and
those
there.
landscape strips will go away, and it'll just be a plain concrete edge.
Okay.
So the edge facing
From the
the
street into the yard.
paving, can-
All the way up the driveway to the house on each side.
Up to the house and up to the garage.
the edge of the concrete you see from the street will not have strips,
Exactly right.
right? Yeah.
I would like to approve something that's on paper. Do you feel comfortable approving
Well,
something that's not on paper at this point?
I am-
Yeah, ma'am,
I think
I have it right here.
Can I see it?
Yes, ma'am.
I understand what they're talking about. I'd like to make sure they submit it to staff to
Right.
confirm. Yes.
The one that curved, the freeform,
The what?
The one closest on this side, right here, this curved one, this is the existing brick planter strip. Right now it's just a 6-inch flat brick, and so we're going to do the same thing here, so nothing will be seen from the street as far as the concrete edges.
So are the planters historic?
They've been there as long as the homeowner has been.
But you're taking them out? Is that what you're saying? No, you're
We're just mimicking.
the planter.
Yes. It just has a brick edge on the planter.
Joe, do you want to continue it for a revised plan?
Do you want to see the plan?
But you can
Yeah,
see
I'd
it,
like
all the street side and the approach side are all eliminated. So. And I apologize. I should have just went ahead and submitted that, but.
It's very complicated.
That's why I'm saying, I mean, it's hard to tell. So what will you see from the street?
You'll see a brick planter.
So when you're
you really won't even see it because if the grass is grown, you don't even see the edge of the brick.
So when you're facing north, though, will you see there's a see-through fence in front of the pool?
There's a drive gate, and you'll see. I mean, there's a rendering
drive
of it
gate.
right there.
No, I mean, looking north,
Oh, sorry.
looking just north, on the south end of the pool. There's a see-through fence. No,
No, that's.
there's a.
I'm trying to think. I believe there's both. There's a halfway wood and then halfway see-through.
Okay.
I think when we were talking about, and you're proposing kind of replacing the existing concrete, we kind of expected it to just be existing, like existing concrete without a lot of decorative strips, edging and that kind of stuff. I think that's what I'm reacting to. It's kind of what we were talking about, but all this decorative edging seems to be, more than at least what we were thinking about. We're trying to visualize it, I guess. We were expecting to see that concrete replaced, and then some planter walls or other things.
Yeah, I mean, with the use of dwarf mondo or anything on it, we're trying to really understate it. It's just holding in. It gives us the ability to put plants up against the concrete.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like that. Joe?
I mean, once again, I will admit, maybe I don't really have a good idea of what it will look like, and I still don't really understand what fence. It appears to me from the pictures, are you building a new fence on the north side? So, I mean, I'm looking at it, does it look like a wrought iron fence there? Okay, I thought you just said it was a wood fence.
Back behind the garage, I believe it switches to a wood fence.
I'm going to say, if you're standing on the public sidewalk looking north, you see the house? You don't see the house?
I mean, it's going to, you do see the house through that side, yes. But you will not see any sort of edgers or the pool.
Well, okay. If that's all if we've approved everything else and that's all it is, then y'all do what you want. I don't understand it.
I don't. I feel like, I guess, my drawings are about as good as I can get
when
them.
you've got a very large site and you have very little drawings, and there's not like a blown-up, piece of exactly what I don't think anybody, at least I don't understand what you're talking about the edging. It's clear to you.
There's a detail that kicks out that shows on the full site plan, yeah.
There's you're talking about A1, sheet 407, but it's not revised, so.
Yeah.
A1.
The driveway just has a 6-inch planter strip and then a 6-inch band of concrete that goes around it. That's what I'm referring to when I say strip.
And I guess I would just say to you, I have no idea what a planter strip is when you say that. I don't know what you're trying to get across there.
We can put turf in it. We can put dwarf mondo in there. So it's just something to try to tone down all the concrete.
Okay, so I don't think anybody's opposed to that. Okay, because he's saying that basically there's a foot of dirt you're going to put plants in.
6 inches.
6 inches.
Uh-huh.
I know, it seems, it's like a little strip of,
I mean, I don't know what you could get to grow there, but
it says turf strip on the drawing.
Correct.
turf strip makes more sense.
You're talking about artificial turf.
Correct. Initially, we had talked about artificial turf, yes.
So,
First
yeah,
drawing.
you wouldn't put plants in there, it'd be artificial
It won't
turf.
grow.
It's a
So
strip.
artificial turf right next to the grass,
No,
a strip of it?
It would be the edge of the driveway, 6
Page-
inches of artificial
page
turf.
5.
And then a 6-inch concrete strip.
Look at page 5, Joe, there's a detail of it, the top left corner.
I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be...
That's okay.
Top, it says driveway, and then it says 6-inch turf strip, and then 6-inch concrete strip.
So I think page 7 of 7 in this top right-hand corner, is this the, I think this is the turf strip that he's
Okay.
talking about, on this back edge by the planter with those tall trees. Yep.
That's it, that'll be gone.
Okay, yeah, no. Yeah. No, I do not like that, but...
I'm pretty comfortable with the turf strips everywhere except for on the sides of the driveway. But if it's, it's back towards the
If it's
garage
the
and the
pool,
planter.
I mean, the pool thing, I mean, that's okay, but the driveway...
Yeah.
So they're proposing to eliminate the turf strips on the driveway, edge of the driveway facing the street.
But he said only for a short distance into
For
the
the
yard.
entry.
All the way to the house, which is a majority of the driveway.
All the way to the house.
On the street side, yes.
So essentially, what will be left will be that back side, and
Yes.
then down in by the pool and in front of the garage?
I mean,
And that's just to try to keep the back. If we're going to do it around the pool, it's trying to,
I would be agreeable if it was on the what I would call the inside of the yard, that side. If those two did not have it.
Well, that's what they're proposing.
Are you,
That's what they are agreeing to.
The edge of the driveway facing the street would not have a strip.
okay. That's not how I heard it, but okay, if that's it.
I think that's it.
And that's
So this is...
that's condition
no.
number
We
1.
will get-
too.
No, this is correct, Katie.
Right.
Yep.
We would get revised drawings from the applicant showing that, and if what we get doesn't mesh with what we've all discussed here, then we'll go back to the drawing board.
Okay,
Absolutely.
I would make a motion to approve HPCA 19-00165 with the specific findings as noted by the staff in the staff report for item 1, and the specific findings as noted by the staff under number 2 with conditions 1 and 2 as noted by the staff, and to add a third condition that the new concrete shall match the aged appearance of the existing in design details, color, and texture.
Okay.
I will second.
Moved by Joe Meacham, seconded by Taylor Fudge. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, you're approved.
Thanks.
Thank you. You guys want to take a break, or?
Yeah.
What?
Okay.
Oh.
Is that
He's going to submit new site plans, right? Or are we?
new plan? Right.
Yeah. Mr. Schindler, can we get that drawing to keep us? That kind of becomes part of the record of the meeting, if you don't mind leaving that with us.
Okay, we're going to
Thank
take a 10-minute break. We'll come back at 3:30. Okay?
All right. Well, that's so the hospitals can, and Medicaid can pay for stuff. You know, they were... Yes. I mean, are we actually going to act like this an emergency? Yeah.
we should all go stampeding out into the streets.
There's so many things that can go wrong. Box of weird odds and ends, including a piece of black, and a piece about this long with a equipment for a garage door that I was talking about. I was like, I'll buy that. She went, "Want this?" Her grandson was in the room. He's like, "What is it?" I was like, "Well, it's supposed to be for a garage door, but it's exactly what I need." And I thought I had some, but I hadn't found it yet. There's a piece of thick. So, anyway, so it's currently in the truck at the house.
D5, HPCA 19-168 at 1005 Northwest 38th Street, Crown Heights, Ward 2, consideration and possible action on application by Michael Smith for certificate of appropriateness to 1 construct shed.
Okay, applicant present. Okay, all right.
Mike Smith, 1005 Northwest 38th Street.
Okay. All right. I'm not going to say it.
The commission has seen this before, and the applicant's made some revisions based on the feedback at the previous commission meeting. If you want to summarize the changes since the last time.
The changes that I've made are, I have turned the building. That was one of the things I offered to make it more that's not the word, better appearance to a neighbor on the back. And I have received a text from her. I don't know if she forwarded the information to you, that the things that I offered, which were to reside with a hardy plank and change the windows out, and possibly, if required, the roof line. She was happy with that and assured me that that would work. So,
are you referring to your neighbor?
pardon?
You're referring to the neighbor?
Yes, Mrs. Eddington.
Sir, is there a site plan or a floor plan? It's not seeing it in my packets. Is it correct that you have a garage design approved but not built?
It is partially built.
And I'm sorry, I apologize, I was not here last time, but this has already been built recently?
Yes, it is built. The barn, we've called it 2 or 3 different things.
The shed, we'll call it.
The shed is how it's addressed.
Okay.
In fact, there's a photo of it up.
Okay. And the garage will be in front of it?
That's correct.
No.
Or a site plan. Is there a new site plan? There's not. Okay.
Because there was a mention of two different proposals for where it was going to be located. There's an A and a B, and I couldn't find that. Is that in here?
It should be there.
I'm having trouble finding it. And I had one other question while we're looking for that one, and that is that as a part of your application, I read that you were going to be building your garage in January of this year?
Those are just the photos of comparable buildings. Is that what you're asking?
People have some.
That was, you should have, I titled it C2.
That's the one. You mentioned it, that may have been in follow-up.
Okay.
Because its current location is C1? Yeah, I thought it was that. Okay, great. And did you start the garage in January? That's what?
Yeah, I'm John Reinke. I'm contracting on that garage, so I thought I'd sign in and just address the question. Yeah, we are actually, and we didn't start it in January pretty much as a result of weather and placement of the barn and what have you. But we are out of the ground. We've got it sided, decked off and ready for siding and everything right now.
Okay,
so
good.
This picture from the road, the barn is now gone. So
the garage is going up.
Yep, the garage
Is
is
that
going
the
up.
site plan, Linda? Could you?
Yeah,
please say?
that's what, thank you. That was,
You're welcome.
Was this in the original packet? It seems like there was a site plan
That would
originally.
not have been in,
Angela is looking in the file for the site plan. I believe we do have a site plan that doesn't appear to be in the attachments.
it should have been in the amended packet we actually looked at last time.
It was turned the other direction, that's right.
Correct. Mrs. Eddington, it did cover whatever, third of the backyard fence line, and after we turned it, it does make a great difference to her view from her back, the back of her house.
Had a coughing fit there. Can I have one? Those are yours. Oh, thank you.
Yep, part of the proposal is to rotate the shed 90 degrees, or, yeah, 90 degrees, so that the
Right.
wide part is not across the back fence.
So this,
So the site plan that is being passed around shows it rotated from what you see in the photo of the previous condition.
Was that part of the application?
Yes, that was part of their proposal to revise what had been installed already.
That's it.
I don't see that.
previous? Yep.
It just says it can be moved. Seems kind of weird, but
This shows both the site plans.
so what are you wanting to, are you asking to move it to this, or you?
I'm sorry, I
Do
probably
you have a
didn't
preference,
approach
or?
that. A neighbor noted this and submitted that it occluded a lot of her view
Okay,
from the back of her house.
okay,
And part of my proposal for the approval was to turn that.
Okay.
And I have contacted her, and she did say that would take care of her concerns.
okay, so do we have an A and a B? Which one are we approving?
Yep, so this is,
That's this one?
yep, so the site plan is, what's proposed is to rotate it so that it runs
North-south.
long ways down the length of the yard, to modify the roof from a gambrel roof to a gable roof, to clad it with hardy plank fiber cement siding.
And do the wood windows?
To do the wood windows, yes.
I saw that.
Okay. Looks good to me.
Okay. I'm just not sure if that is
Yep.
clear. Okay. I'll make a proposal, and so we're going to attach. Did you name them option A or B, or can we name one? This is the final
I
option.
think he called it C2.
Oh,
C2?
there's,
Okay. C2?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
yeah.
I would make a motion to approve HPCA 19-00168 Item 1, to construct a shed with the specific findings as noted by the staff in the staff report, and with the condition that, I guess, of, with the attached design changes, and that would be one condition, and the second condition would be that it would be moved to the position indicated in attachment C2.
May I clarify before you?
Sure.
The roof, I would like to address that a little bit. It is a gambrel, and if necessary to get approval, I will redo that roof. Quite an undertaking to take the roof off, and so I would just like to hear your thoughts about that.
Well, so now it's...
That would be the change, or that's what it is now?
That would be the change.
That would be the change.
So now it's going to... You're building the new garage, and it's totally going to hide this shed. Is that correct?
That's correct.
I'm not so sure we need to have it go through the expense. Is the height going to stay the same?
Yes.
Height will still be the same. It'll just be a, what do you call it, a gambrel?
Yeah, I'm not really...
Basically, it's got an extra...
Right, it's a barn.
Oh, it's, oh, yeah.
Barn style.
Yeah.
Yeah, barn style, okay.
I'm not so sure we need to make them do that.
Okay, I don't either. So, okay,
When-
condition, just a second. Let me get back to my conditions. Condition 1 was to follow the design as submitted except for the roof. I'll make that number 2. The roof can remain a gambrel roof. And 3,
As long as it's no higher than shown on the drawing.
well, it is what it is. Oh, 12. Is it higher than?
He says the same height, but...
Same height.
Yeah.
Well, on this one you have 12 exactly, and on another drawing you have 12.9. What's your thought there?
It would be the 12.9. It's not 12, so I don't know why there's two different.
Oh, I'm sorry, that's the width. Okay, no, okay. It's 12. I can't read. Okay. Okay, number 1 was the design as submitted, except for item 2, which is the roof can remain the same, with item 3 to be relocated to the position as noted in attachment C2.
Okay, is there a second?
There's your paper.
I'll second that.
Moved by Joe Meacham, second by Taylor Fudge. All in favor?
Trying.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, been approved with changes.
Thank you.
And
I appreciate your
thank you.
address.
Okay, next, we need to try to move it on so we get out of here by 5. Okay. So stick around. Let's move on to D6. We're going to try to get there by 5.
HBCA 20-10 at 418 Northwest 24th Street, Jefferson Park, Ward 2, consideration and possible action on application by Christina L. Haji, Fidelity Real Estate Brokers for Ezra's Hava for certificate of appropriateness to 1, replace 2 windows required.
Okay, the applicant's present. Come on up and state your name and address and sign in.
Andrew Thanasi, Managing Broker with Fidelity Real Estate Brokers, on behalf of the owner, 418 Northwest 24th Street.
Okay. Okay, replace 2 windows. Any questions for the applicant?
We're approving these retroactively, is that correct?
Yes, so these are 2 windows that, as you can see in the photos, were in pretty bad disrepair, pieces of glass falling, and have already been replaced. They were replaced with wood true divided light windows that were built locally to match the existing historic windows. Staff has recommended approval, and we did note that we need somewhat more specific documentation of the replacement windows, which the contractor should be able to provide.
I mean, we have some, is this the window?
Yeah. Yeah, we don't have anything, I think, from them showing the Muntin pattern, which typically we want that to be provided. Well, but showing that it's 6/1 or that kind of thing.
So I guess replace it to replicate what's there, that would be the...
Is that what you guys went with, just the 6/1, and what did you replace with?
It is 8/1. I've actually been
Or
working with
8/1,
the
sorry.
historic committee for quite some time, getting educated. And they said, I was advised that the windows have to match the shape, form, the material, and the contractor, they were advised to do that. In this particular case, as of May of last year, 2 windows, and these windows, they're facing west. Those are the windows that take most of the abuse from the weather. There were multiple pieces of glass that fell down, and there is an immediate driveway for the tenants to access the parking lot, which was a major concern, and we had to pull the trigger, and I kept everybody in the loop that we will have to expedite just these 2 windows in particular. That side of the building altogether has about 18 windows, and these 2 were damaged beyond repair. We're pretty much disintegrated.
So you've already replaced them?
Yes, two of them.
2 of them. Are you wanting to replace more?
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not.
I would hate to do that.
Okay.
I mean,
No, that's okay. So I think you just need to submit a
Documentation.
documentation
What
as
it looks
requested
like.
by staff.
But there they are, they're just like that. Yeah.
All the drawings and the pictures before and after they have been submitted. If I need to resubmit that, I'll do that. But I believe that I have provided.
You just need one more drawing showing
Yeah, typically
From the
we get
front.
a drawing from your
Elevation.
contractor that shows that it's, 8 panes over 1, kind of the actual configuration of the window, not just the section through it.
Okay.
It's pretty standard form, that's not a problem. But
Yeah, it would look just like that picture. So,
yeah,
we good?
all right, so that sounds cut and dried.
I would make a motion to approve HPCA 200010. Look to my, sorry. Be on the right page. With the specific findings as noted by the staff in the staff report, with condition 1, that the proposed replacement windows replicate the historic windows, and 2, that complete documentation as requested by staff will be submitted prior to the CA being released.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll-
And moved by Joe Meacham, second by Linda, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay, it's been passed.
Thank you.
Excuse me, I've got this cough.
HPCA 20-14 at 1700 North Robinson, Heritage Hills East, Ward 6, consideration and possible action on application by OPM Realty for certificate of appropriateness to, 1, install can LED lights at 3rd story soffit, elective.
Okay, is the applicant present? Not present, okay. Any questions or comments on this?
I have a note on mine that says no can lights.
I had a feeling. Should we continue this since the applicant's not here?
Yeah, we had recommended a continuance so that they could consider alternatives for lighting issues, since that's what they're trying to address. So I would say continue to May 6th so that we have time to get back with them.
Okay.
I mean, I would just suggest to them that really, lights in the 3rd story soffit are not safety related, that they need to be, closer to the ground. There's not going to be much light left.
Yeah,
It's
we've been over
like
that
a
just
nightclub
recently.
or something.
Yep, okay. So we want to make a motion there?
Oh, make.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Been moved by Mary Jo Meacham and second by Taylor Fudge. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, D7 is continued to May. Next.
HPCA 20-15 at 528 Northwest 26th, Paseo, Ward 2, consideration and possible action on application by Kenton Everhart KBE Services for Gregory Collins for a certificate of appropriateness to 1, replace front porch floor elective, 2, relocate front steps from side to front elective, 3, replace front porch columns and construct low brick walls elective, and 6, reconfigure front walk elective.
Okay, is the applicant present? Okay.
Kenton Everhart, 526 Northwest 26th Street.
Okay. All right. Staff's recommending continue this for additional information. Any questions for the applicant?
I guess for me, just kind of walk us through what you're wanting to do on this particular project and why you're wanting to make the change and all that stuff.
So basically, we're wanting to put, well, I'll deal with it step by step. So the concrete pad, the concrete porch is cracked currently. It needs to be, either way, it's got to be replaced. So when we were reconfiguring, when we were looking at reconfiguring, we were trying to do the walk and the steps up the front, because that's what most of the craftsman style in that area, how they are all set up is the single walkway, is the single steps and single walkway up to the front, and then with columns and stuff. Basically, we're just trying to replicate the other craftsmen in the area. Basically, we're just going to do low brick walls on the exterior with caps, and then from the base, I believe it's 40 inches to the tops of the columns, and then it'll be wood from there up.
I think the question here would be, what are the additions of the brick, and all that's not, was that something that's being added instead of historic? So, speaking for myself, that would probably not be something we'd
Gotcha.
look favorably on.
Okay. I mean, there is proof that it was about 2 inches bigger. I mean, I think it's noted, but the columns are 2 inches bigger, both at the top and at the bottom, or around there.
Yep, looks like something was there.
Yeah. So they were wrapped. They were wrapped larger. I mean. Yeah, it's about 2. It's with the. Yeah, it's about 2 inches.
That's odd.
Yeah, that's just where it's set, I believe.
It looks like a joint.
Just because wood sits on concrete doesn't generally make a, but what's in the middle, is that a very big post?
Yeah.
It must have somehow been attached, I don't know.
Well, if the wood was added around another post, a structural post, column, then there might have been a thicker veneer.
The post was replaced. The post was totally replaced at one point. You see where it was cut out.
Right. I mean,
What's
I don't know. I mean, sometimes at the bottom there's like, a cap. I mean, one tape wrapped around it, and then even a shorter, like even sometimes like an oversized piece of code molding at the bottom on this kind of thing. It could have covered that whole.
like a trim piece of some type?
Trim pieces, yeah. Because usually they want
Yeah.
water to roll off somehow. I mean, that design just makes it.
Yeah, it might have been just a column with a trim at the top and bottom. So,
For me, I just struggle with this one. I think, like Commissioner Meacham mentioned, it would appear that this is historic, and for me, I wouldn't want to demolish it and tear it off the house until it's proven not to be historic. But I guess I would suggest a continuance on this particular item or case to see if we can find some more information on it.
What about what about if we did away with the brick altogether and just rewrapped, but to be able to approve the egress, the sidewalk coming up and the steps through the center instead of the...
So basically restoring what you've got.
But except for moving the steps from the side to the center.
Yeah.
Personally, I think that the steps on the side are kind of interesting and unique. And again, I get back to, was that historic? I believe it might have been, but I don't know that. And
It's the only craftsman.
Maybe go for, being unique, because what you're saying is you want it to look like the other ones, and that's like, the guideline is the opposite of making all of them look the same, so maybe you could concentrate on the uniqueness of this.
It is a
because you could do a really, instead of like a fence or post between it, you could have landscaping that kind of served as that border, and you kind of have a private porch. So, I mean,
And it is a duplex.
what?
It is a duplex.
Yeah, it's a duplex. Is it going to stay a duplex?
Oh, it wasn't currently a duplex. We're turning it
Back into one. So,
It's got 2 addresses.
yeah. So, I mean, that is how it actually, my grandma had a house kind of like this, and that you went to the side, and her whole porch was covered with, big plants, too big, but, they served as because you just had a little step, and so they kind of served as making the porch private.
So if we continue this to the May 6th meeting, and then in the interim, you want to do more of an in-kind repair because there are actual condition issues that you're wanting to address, as well as just changing the design. If you were to come back and propose to do something that's more in-kind with what's there now, then we can administratively approve that.
Yeah, I've talked with Angela about that.
Okay, I would make a motion to continue HPCA 20-00015 to the April 6th. Oh, May 6th, I'm sorry. None of us can get it right. May 6th.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved by Joe Meacham, second by Linda Schultz. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, been continued. D8's been continued to May.
Okay.
Thank you.
HPCA 20-18 at 2109 Northwest 27th Street, Shepherd, Ward 2. Consideration and possible action on application by John Reinke for Linkus Mac 4 Low for Certificate of Appropriateness to 1 Construct Addition.
It's quite the name, isn't it?
Yeah, sorry.
John Reinke, I'm the contractor for this property. 2109 Northwest 27th.
That is an interesting name. Okay, construct addition.
And it's a very unique little house.
Yeah.
Little is kind of the operative word. It's actually, as you look at this back elevation, it's actually easier to see that it's 4 individual elevations on the interior of the house, too. So everything on the west is offset about 18 inches and lower than everything on, everything on the west side is about 18 inches lower than everything on the east side. So that actually played in a large part into some of the design considerations as we were looking on how to maximize the use of space, and actually affects one of the specific findings that and I was hoping we might be able to address this afternoon, but don't want to
take away you guys' opportunity to discuss it and ask questions, so, okay. So the one in particular that the design considerations I just mentioned are, is affected by is number 9. The differentiation between historic structure and proposed addition is limited to new materials and the vertical boards that appear more as a design component than demarcation. And we actually used that. It's, I believe, a 1x8 hardy board fascia that we were going to run on the west side to demarcate that out. And if we were, we had debated actually just trying to continue the fascia board straight across. And by we, I mean me and the homeowners. But with the requirement of the offset or some other sort of physical demarcation between the two structures, we decided to go with this. And it actually is in part of driven by the requirement for as much space as possible because of the offset in the levels that are in the existing thing. Because we're going to have to come out and to tie the second floor addition to the rest of the home. If you look at this picture and you see the little 4x4 window just above the blank entry level, ground level entry on this, that is the landing between the second story on the east and the second story on the west. And we actually have to come out right on that landing to be able to have enough room from the first floor slab to the bottom of the joists to be able. So anyway, it's a very specific place that we kind of have to hit. So offsetting the west wall by 6 inches actually impacted our usable space on the interior, so it wasn't ideal. So anyway, that being said, we did do it as a specific design accommodation to demarcate that differentiation, as well as being driven by practical consideration on the interior. Would you like me to continue addressing the specific findings, or would you guys like to ask questions?
There's no plan, no floor plan, something I was looking for.
An interior floor plan?
Well, yeah, I'd just like to see how it is laid out, and there's some specific things about the way the exterior is expressed, and the floor plan would help. My first pass is a lot of blank walls and
very few windows.
Very few windows, and a little bit commercial-ish. Doesn't have some of the character of the small multi-pane, or it seems a little bit. What I'm trying to say.
Commercial is not a bad characterization.
Well, it just seems to be not residential in character, I guess. It doesn't fit in with the house that much.
Right.
I see you try to pick up a form from the front.
Right. Yeah.
But and that's my first reaction to it. If I saw the plan, I might see why it's the way it is. But for instance, the west wall is straight.
Yeah, the west wall, and it's funny that
no differentiation between the old and the new, which is no. So a lot of architectural issues.
Right. Well, that differentiation is the one I was just talking about. And as far as the rest of the west wall is concerned, and they are not opposed to adding windows to kind of give that a little bit more interest and warmth and character. And the main reason that we didn't is on the first floor. That's the back wall of what we're planning for the kitchen, and the main wall of upper and lower cabinets for the kitchen. So that's where that one blanked out.
Well,
then
if you look at the front, it is very unique.
It's unusual. It's in the Shepherd.
Then you look at the back, and it seems like
it's normal in the back and kind of funky in the front.
Becomes plain.
It is
Yeah. Both in the
it's
original
memorable. I
conception.
know the house.
Do you? It's very, very unique. I like the...
Yeah, you kind of look at it and you go, why? You know, you do. Because, I mean, it's got this triangle thing. It's right in the middle of Shepherd, you know, and you're just like,
Yeah, I have no idea what style that triangle thing
yeah, I
is,
don't know. It's just
you
that
know.
it was, I think it's kind of just a colonial, but for whatever reason, they decided instead of just a regular bay window, they would do this triangular thing. Because if
Yeah.
you look at the roof over it, I mean, if you imagine a bay window there, you could see that would change it to like a colonial look, like it is.
Yeah. And then they've also got those barrel arches above, the
Oh, yeah.
south-facing windows. It's just, it's almost like someone just couldn't decide what they wanted to do, and so they just kind of kept adding things to it. So it's, I think the comment on the first page was that this is a non-contributing house to the overall architecture of the neighborhood, which is and is not the case. I mean...
You know, at this point, no, I mean, I don't really know why. It could have actually been counted. If there's other ones in the neighborhood that have garages and they're contributing, I don't know why this one wouldn't be contributing too. I mean,
The survey says it's 1955, so it might have been outside the period.
outside the period when they did it.
Oh, yeah, it definitely is outside of the period. So, and...
Still.
And I did not provide a floor plan because, we were actually looking at the overall use of space to address your question, Alan, or what your comment really. Because based on this conversation was really kind of how we would set the considerations for the interior, because the exterior defines what we have in terms of usable space in a lot of cases. So.
Well, John, if that's the kitchen, wouldn't you have a window? Because if you don't have a window there, is there not a window in the kitchen?
There's two windows basically in that kind of pop-out triangular feature. There's two windows in that, both at the second story and the first story. And then as you proceed to the west along both the first and second stories, there's windows there. And then on the as you proceed to the east, and on the east-facing windows of the first story and second story, there's also windows. So, it's really just this west facade that doesn't have anything. So, and they are not adverse to adding them. When you have a window, it limits your interior wall space. So, what you can do with that wall, from usability's perspective.
I think one of the reasons that, not just because we like windows, but also in consideration of neighbors, just looking next door to a big blank wall is generally not, I don't think there's a feel-good thing about that. You just have this 20-foot brick wall, basically.
I would agree.
And, I mean, it is, as far as the whole thing, it certainly will impact the neighbor's son, that it gets in the yard.
Yeah.
And
that is a two-story house with a substantial addition that is on the west side. So, they actually they took out the garage on that house and made it into a tunnel. So that particular house snuck in a 3-car garage that's in the back of the property. So, in terms of, whether this house will occlude that house, it's not really.
Yeah, okay.
That house is already occluding. So. But yes, windows definitely can be added. That's not a problem. I would say a minimum of 3 windows, one on either side of what would be the master suite in the upper story, and then at least one can be worked into the kitchen plan, since we actually haven't set the kitchen plan up yet, because it's somewhat predicated on this conversation.
Well, you don't have to have a lot of them. They just need to be strategically located. The existing, they're fairly random, but just need to be done in a way that's kind of balanced, but you don't need a lot, and they don't need to be big. Another thing, on the north elevation, the back elevation where you're creating that triangular, seems like that's a feature that the wing that comes out that way should be should have a gable in the end of it that sort of frames your pyramid, like the front,
Yeah.
instead of having it just this massive roof line that, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And then the portion that goes to the east would just kind of be a shed that comes off to the side. Does that make sense? So in other words, a gable that would kind of frame your architectural element. That's just an architectural comment. It's not a HP
Right.
comment.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming at.
Because
And it was,
the front is kind of neat with that gable with the feature, and it's sort of symmetrical. So I would do that if I would try to do that if I were you.
I wanted it to be symmetrical, but it actually made the addition to make it symmetrical on that point. Squared off the addition.
I'm not saying square it off. I'm just saying the part that sticks out, that you kind of centered that.
You mean scoot it to where it center lines underneath the gable end, more or less?
No, here's your pyramid. The part that comes out, you've kind of centered it on that. Just create a gable there and let the part that's to the east just be a shed that comes off to the side.
Ah, I see. So if you refer back to the roof plan, well, actually,
I can draw it on there, but I'm not supposed to redesign your plan.
Yeah.
I think we're on the same page. I think I understand what you're talking about as well.
Are we going to want to resubmit plans?
Yeah, it sounds like this is a continuance.
Yeah.
If we continue to April 1st, we need everything from you like Monday. Because it's such a short turnaround before that meeting. Otherwise, it's May 6th.
Let's see. I don't know if Monday is really achievable, given that it's Friday now. So.
Correct.
It only gives you 2 days. What's better?
Yeah, that's the whole weekend. Thanks. Weren't for the coronavirus, I might actually have things to do. So I don't suppose I could have till Wednesday of next week.
Really, packets for the April 1st meeting need to be done Friday of next week. So we really can't. We don't have a lot of wiggle room there.
It's because we're delayed.
Yeah, because this meeting is so late.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, well, I suppose I can try to get it done. So the board's requests are perhaps modifying that and maybe gaining a little bit more symmetry with the gables and the triangle pop out, more windows on the west facade, and then the floor plan as it exists right now.
I'd like to see the existing and the proposed floor plans, but I would like to see it pick up more character of the existing house, and not the addition, and not be so monolithic looking.
Okay.
That's kind of general, so I'm trying not to be real specific, but that's the goal.
Well, that's, and I was trying to pick that up. The offset, this is not a square pop out. It comes out and then it offsets and then comes out further. And then we added that, that triangle thing to try to keep it from being just a plain Jane box vanilla thing.
Kind of interesting. I think you can figure it out, though. So.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like we're kind of heading in the right direction, as far as what you guys are looking for. And
so does he have till Monday at 5 o'clock?
Yes, I think we can handle that.
All right, well, I'll be in touch with them. Is there anything other than these considerations that we've talked about that I need to address? There's things that were noted.
Linda?
Hard to promise that.
Well, I understand that.
I mean, we're really just giving you guidance,
Of course.
pending, receiving,
Yeah, I've been to enough of these things now to know that, there isn't such a thing as if you do this, then we will approve it, kind of thing. So
that's why I tried to be
If you follow the guidelines, we'll approve it.
Right. Yeah, so
I was trying to not be as specific in the end, just kind of, the idea would be to pick up some of the character of their existing house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I don't know. I mean, it'd be really useful to have an idea. I mean, other than the casement windows, and maybe instead of doing the 1/1 double hung windows, and doing like a divided light thing, what kind of character elements would you guys?
I would suggest, I think that the way, once again, I'll go back to drawings. I think that if your drawings showed a little more of the detail of the house, it wouldn't look like a big blob here, you know?
I
And so when
agree.
we don't see the siding and we don't see the size of the siding and all of that, then it even looks, you know, it has, it doesn't look like it's very detailed. And so I think that if you would do, just put particularly on this, just on those two elevations, you know, the north and the west,
Yeah.
so that we could see how it was going to look finished, maybe it would not look so, because there's a big, I mean, is that a different kind of material, the white material that divides the top from the bottom?
It's just a wood fascia.
But is it wider?
The bottom is actually brick, you know, on
So I think, you
this
know,
side.
You need to indicate all that.
right, I
Yeah.
think if that was on here,
It's all noted. And
yes, but we can't see it.
I understand that, and I actually did, I debated trying to draw it in, but at the
And you
scale...
don't have to draw the whole thing. I think if you would even just you know, a slash where you have a little bit of everything so that we kind of see the direction you're going.
Yeah, I mean, at the scale that we have to present the drawings, I mean, what's the maximum, is an 18 by 24, is that right? Or 8.5 by 11? 17 is the largest. I mean, at that scale for this size of a building to minimize it down, it gets real muddy. But not to say I can't. I'm just saying that I actually made a decision to not try because I felt like calling it brick or calling it a 6-inch siding thing would actually be more indicative than trying to draw a bunch of lines in and then having a big muddy mess to hand you guys. So I actually did that on purpose to an extent. Okay, so more windows and a little bit of centering, pick up some more detail. And do I need to address the chimney thing? Items number 5 and number 6 seem to offset each other on the specific findings. And number 5 says it is a defining feature of a property, but then it says that the removal of the chimney may have no adverse effect. So
I mean, I read that as staff feels like that.
Feels like it's okay, right?
Removing it, it's no adverse effect. I mean.
Yeah, it's one of those that's at the rear of the structure. It's not visible from, is it visible from the street?
It is not.
Minimally visible?
It's minimally visible from the street, yes. So
It really isn't highly visible from the street at all. It is a repeated element in the backyards. And I'm always going to bring that up to you guys because chimneys are considered character-defining features. As far as I know, there's no plan for venting pipes or anything like that going on the back of the roof.
Oh, right, that was asked for.
I am not clear that the roof itself provides any need for further decorative elements to replace that chimney in any way, shape, or form. I just always want you guys to be aware of it. It's coming off. You need to know. And you've got pictures of what's going on around it.
It's part of your interior plan, John?
yeah, I mean, the chimney serves no function to the home anymore, and it really is just kind of in the way.
Is it a flue or a chimney, or a fireplace? Is it a flue?
It is
a flue for the kitchen or a chimney for a fireplace?
It used to be a flue for the kitchen, the existing kitchen, which actually, Alan, do you want a floor plan of the entire house? Because I only have the back half of the house.
Whatever you've got.
Okay, so, okay, I can provide that.
So that's a chimney right there that you're talking about removing?
Yeah, exactly. So, as best we can determine, it used to be the flue for the kitchen, and now it's serving as the only exhaust port for the gas-fired water heater, which we'll be replacing and taking out.
We'll call that the flue.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I understand what I'm not opposed to that if that's,
All right.
after staff led me there.
Yeah, it's
And then obscured glass. That's the other thing that the applicant's probably going to want you to address, whether or not you're going to allow for obscured glass.
Right.
Oh, for what?
Glass is not clear. Obscured glass.
Joe, that's pretty definitive. You may want to back off of actually shaking your head, you know?
I didn't say anything. What was the purpose? I just saw that. But
It happens to be in the bathroom. You know, so that window happens to be in the bathroom. It's the only reason for it. So,
They'll have to go get film and put over the inside.
yeah, no, that's totally going to be an added item. So
Okay, is there a
that's no
motion?
problem.
What?
Is there a motion?
Oh, I make a motion to continue HPCA 200018 to the
April 1.
April 1.
Okay, so,
Have a nice
Good luck.
weekend.
all right, and if I don't make the deadline, will automatically continue, or do I have to show up for the next one?
So it has to go on that agenda. We have to specify a meeting. So it will go on that meeting for sure. And obviously, if we don't have enough by that time for them to make a decision on it, they would have the opportunity to continue it again.
We haven't voted on it yet. Is there a second? I'll second. It's been moved by Joe Meacham, seconded by Taylor Fudge. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, you've been continued to April.
Okie dokie. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
HPCA 20-19 at 920 Northwest 18th Street, Mesta Park, Ward 6. Consideration and possible action on application by Jeff Blake, G&B Associates, for Tim and Lisa Weaver for certificate of appropriateness to 1, demolish garage, elective, 2, construct garage, elective, 3, replace rear door, steps, railing, and patio, elective, 4, install railing at front steps, elective, 5, replace windows and siding at mudroom, elective, 6, replace driveway, elective, and 7, increase paving at rear of driveway to create parking pad, elective. This is a property that the Commission has previously approved a CA for that largely encompassed all of this work. They've applied to get a new CA because upon beginning renovation of the garage, it was in such a condition that they felt it made more sense to ask to demolish it and construct a new garage that would be essentially the same design as what was approved previously. The only other real changes to what was approved previously was a change with some of the rear patio stuff from concrete to brick and brick to concrete. All of that's at the rear of the house. And then addressing the replacement of the entire driveway, which I believe had been included in a different format before. And I'll let correct.
Yes, there's a lot, excuse me, I'm Bill Dinger. I'm standing in for Jeff Blake, who's out of town. There are a lot of parts and pieces to this, right? We were going to take off a stairway on the west side of the house. That's been eliminated. And should I do a description or got some questions? Okay.
What's changed?
So, as Katie was saying, we are now going to, the proposal is to tear down the existing garage and replace it with a new one, which pretty much will look exactly like the one that's there, with a few changes. That's one part of the job. Another part of the job would be we're going to do the work at the mudroom as originally described, except that whereas before we were going to do a complete brick stoop, we've now replaced the brick with concrete, but we still have brick on the sidewall. Let's see. The driveway is pretty much, is close to what was originally described. I've got some additional drawing. In the comments, there was some criticism about how we were handling some of the items. So we've got some new proposals on that and some additional information. So do I just hand this out, or how do we do that?
Let's maybe kind of discuss those first. We try to not take a lot of new documentation at the meeting, but maybe you can get a sense from the Commission what of those issues need revision.
Are they just for the items that are under where they suggested to continue, the driveway and then the rear parking?
Yes, that's kind of what I've got some documentation on.
That's just the two items that they were going to continue.
Okay, and then this is retaining.
You want to tell us what you're going to do instead? What were you going to do instead? What were you going to do instead on the driveway?
Okay, the owner had wanted a better, let's talk about the approach first out at the street. The owner wanted better access to their driveway, and so we proposed initially on the material you have doing an 8-foot radius. the staff felt that was excessive for the neighborhood, and so we did a little more research, and it appears that almost all the driveways along this street are around 4 to 5 feet. There's one I measured that was 6. One of the things that some people do, though, to get a better access is what I would call a flared apron, where they just do kind of a small radius to begin with and then sort of angle the apron up to the existing driveway. They go up a little further, maybe this is about 8 foot long. In my case, I'm showing it to be 8 foot long. All this does is and I don't have a photograph of those. There's 2 or 3 I noted that were like that. And so the idea here is to give them, without using like a much larger radius, like 8 feet, to give them better access to the driveway. It still have a smaller radius, but the apron is a little bit wider and sort of angles up. So that's illustrated on the new drawing that you have, the new site plan.
Excuse me.
So that was kind of our solution for that. And then we were missing documentation on a retaining wall, so you should have that detail on. It's pretty much exactly like what's there. I don't know if they built it like this, but this is what we're proposing, but appearance-wise, it'll look the same. Lastly, then, in back, your original material showed a turning element in back of the house, so if you look at the garage of the car on the left side, when it backs out, you would have a better ability to back out and then pull out head first in the driveway. And it's been pointed out that we did something similar before, which we were asked to. I think we were asked to change it to brick, and we did that, but the owner doesn't want to pay for a brick turning radius. So all we're showing here is just pretty much like it is now, slightly wider, but it just follows the sidewalk straight on into the planter at the back of the house. So these are things that we're attempting, or we're providing to kind of get around having to do another, extension or something. We're trying to meet the guidelines as far as this stuff goes, these items go.
And you want to demolish this garage?
Yes.
And it's not, is this it, the shallow-looking one?
Say again, I'm sorry.
Is it a garage with a garage apartment and 2 separate doors? Is this?
Yes, we feel like it was originally a one-story garage, but somebody put a second story on at some point. And then at some later point, they added on to the back of it to make the garage part bigger. The condition of the second-story apartment is that most of the windows are broken out, doors are open, there's vines growing into it, and so forth. On the first floor, it just is extremely bad construction. We've seen a lot of bad construction. This kind of takes the cake on this one here. So when originally we wanted to try to repair what was there, but when we got into it, it just was so bad that it just was not possible to do that. So therefore, we're asking now to rebuild it pretty much as it was.
Are you saying that the garage was just, what kind of foundation is there?
It's kind of hard to tell in some places. Brick, concrete block without any reinforcing or even fill. In some cases, it looks like there's just like a 4x4 wood plate sitting on the floor slab. Until you took it completely apart, you wouldn't know for sure, but it doesn't look like there's much of a foundation at all.
We also know that and Sanborn maps can be wrong, but the 1922 Sanborn map shows a one-story garage. And it's shown that way through the later editions of the maps that we have as well.
Okay.
Katie, in regards to what you wanted to continue, do those two things on the site plan address those issues?
So I think the retaining wall is addressed. That was something that we were unclear on, whether that was being replaced or removed entirely. The flared approach at the driveway, what is the actual width of the driveway beyond, at the narrowest point of that flare?
I don't have a dimension on here, the drawings to scale. I don't have a scale with me, but it's, I don't know, at least 8 feet, maybe 9. It's not very wide.
I think the concern about the radius is that we have a consistent look throughout the districts where you have a fairly tight corner at the driveway, and then it's straight all the way up. It doesn't meander, it doesn't fan out. So it's hard, I'm not entirely certain if this is close enough to that and achieves that goal with a narrower or a smaller radius at the approach. I would kind of defer to the commission on if you think that gets close enough to
How would we know?
the character of the driveway.
How would we know?
Know what?
It looks like every other.
But no, I've never seen that type of flared approach that I can remember. Of course, there's all different types of things you'll find, but typically a 5-foot radius, pretty standard in residential driveways. So I don't think I'd be in favor of that personally.
I think we should just stick with the standards on that. It says specifically how they're supposed to.
City standard 5 feet?
I'm sorry?
City standard, is a city standard?
I think it's 5 feet maximum, is that, I think 5 feet? Is that right?
That's what I was thinking. So.
Yeah.
5-foot minimum, maybe. But usually 5 foot's pretty standard for residential.
Well, that'd be great, because 8 feet's what we showed originally, so that'd be really good, but we were assuming that 8 foot wasn't going to fly, so.
Well, I think what we typically see is a 5-foot.
Yeah.
Historically, it was more like a 3-foot. I think we frequently approve a 5-foot radius because, for one thing, I think plan review doesn't like the 3-foot radius. But the driveway width is the same all the way down to the street, and then you just have the radius right at the...
Would it make any difference, Katie, if I was able to document? I'm pretty sure I saw at least two examples of what I've drawn here on the same block. So I don't know if,
A flared approach?
Well, but the standards say that it's straight, right? Straight in, straight driveway.
I don't know that it specifically says straight, but it's supposed to be in keeping with the, existing character of the driveways. I think, examples of particularly historic, examples of this type of a driveway configuration might help make that case.
Sometimes it's hard to know how long it's been there,
Yeah.
But the whole idea, I guess, is people are just trying to achieve a better access to their driveway, but...
Well, it is an historic neighborhood, and that's the way it was. So, I would think a 5 foot. That's a minimum, and that's more typical. Would be more appropriate than
what is it now?
Flared or.
Is it possible to have a larger radius then?
Well, no. I was thinking 5 foot seems to be typical and historic, and it would meet the city minimum. So I would.
I think your choice would be what it is now. Maybe, is it less than 5 feet now?
It's about 4.5 feet, maybe. So it's going to be, it would essentially stay the same, which they were, trying to improve on, but, anyway.
What happens with the water meter there, Bill?
Oh, yeah, it shows on the drawing here. It's really not in danger. It shows, the water meter shows there.
Yeah, sometimes that gets in the way.
It sounds like everybody wants to just keep it like it is. If it's historic already. If it's original, then usually we would just go, I've never remember anybody coming in and asking for a a different radius, or, I don't know, unless Katie's sees it in her drawings.
I would say often people don't even mention it, but then when you go out in the field and when plan review looks at it, they say, yeah, do a 5-foot radius.
Right.
So the 5 foot has become pretty typical, and we do have the ability to widen the driveway up to 10 feet that we can administratively approve. So I don't know if that would be preferable to just go to 10 feet at the approach and have it be a straight shot instead of having it fan out and kind of not looking like the typical characters.
Can you widen the driveway that much?
Well, not really. See, if you look on the drawing, you'll see the right edge of the driveway is the property line. And so, I don't know, unless we got some kind of a arrangement with the next door neighbor to widen the driveway that way. On the other side, you've got this brick porch that kind of limits how far you can go that way. So, yeah, I don't know.
That's what's really limiting your approach is the current width of your driveway.
In regards to your...
That's right.
The property line, I mean, when you do the larger radius or even this expanded diagonal, you're actually encroaching on it looks like you're encroaching on the neighbor's property line.
Well, not really. The north property line stops at the sidewalk. So all of that is in beyond that's all in the city right away.
Oh.
Yeah, you know, there's a lot of the other driveways along this block are a little bit wider. Some of them are quite a bit, you know, like 20 inches wider or so. So this just happens to be a pretty narrow example. They don't seem to be too bothered with the narrowness of the driveway, but it was just that entrance part that we're trying to solve. But
Okay.
Well, perhaps we can, it sounds like there's not consensus to approve that today, but maybe if it's continued, we can come up with something that would qualify for administrative approval.
let's just say if we make it 5 feet, we're good to go, and then if the owner decides they want to do a look at it again, we'll do it that way. Is that okay?
A 5-foot radius without the flare?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay. And then are we okay in back with what I've shown for the driveway in back?
Katie, is that what y'all asked for, the straight? I think it is, to not do the backup thing.
Yeah,
just a
I think that's
straight.
pretty typical for, I mean, it's, yeah. Okay. Behind the house.
That's good.
So what are we?
Commissioner
Any
Schultz?
more questions for Mr. Dinger?
Where's the problem? Well, how much bigger is the garage than the existing garage?
Sorry, say again?
How much larger is the new garage?
It's actually a smaller footprint on the ground.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Make a motion? Is your microphone on? Is your microphone on?
I make a motion to approve item 1, demolish the garage for HPCA 20-00019 with the specific findings as noted in the staff report.
Second. Moved by Joe Meacham, second by Taylor Fudge. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, item 1 is approved.
Thanks.
I make a motion
Onward.
to approve items 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, HPCA 20-00019, with the specific findings as noted by the staff in the staff report for items 2, 3, and 4. And for item 5, that we include under conditions where staff put suggested additional documentations, to change that to conditions that the plan will include reduction of the proposed curb cut radius to 5 feet with a straight approach, and that 2, that we will include the plan to maintain the existing retaining wall and include the details submitted by the applicant today at the meeting. And to approve item 6 and 7 with the specific findings noted by the staff in the staff report, eliminating the suggested addition, well, no, we'll still need that, with the condition that it matched the submitted plan, the plans that were submitted at today's meeting, that do not include the back out into the backyard, and that that plan shall be attached to the application.
Okay. Is there a second?
I will second that as well.
And it's moved by Joe Meacham and seconded by Taylor Fudge. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Those items have been approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
I wrote on that one, but...
All right. Next. 11. 2 more.
HPCA 20-21 at 600 Northwest 17th Street, Mesta Park, Ward 6. Consideration and possible action on application by Holly Hunt, Sam Gresham Architects, for Pat Salome for a certificate of appropriateness to 1, construct rear addition elective, 2, construct covered rear porch elective, and 3, construct portion of porch, front porch, and side pergola elective.
I'm Holly Hunt with Sam Gresham Architecture at 400 Northwest 23rd.
Okay.
So for this project, the owner really needed some help visualizing it, so fortunately we did a 3D model of it. I think that can really help everybody to visualize its impact on the neighborhood at large, not just its front facade. Since we are in a corner lot here, this will be a highly visible addition. So I just thought this would be a great tool for us to use. I have some still shots that I thought I might just hand out because there is a video. Were we able to play the video? Very well, very well. Oh, you're fine, you're fine. I'm going to hand these out. I just didn't want it to seem odd.
Video? Wow.
I thought we could maybe circle back around. If it's okay, we could talk about the addition to the rear first. So, there's a couple of parts here, and maybe it is. I just that front portion where we can't find some evidence. Let's talk about that last. So I'd like to talk about the addition first, if we can. Let's do the video.
God.
I don't know if you guys can see it. Y'all might have to really turn your... Yeah, Mary Jo's got a good vantage point.
We've all got screens.
Oh, you do?
Set to the table. That's why we're always all like this.
Very good. Very good. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that. So you'll have front row seat.
Does it have
Again,
a soundtrack?
Given that this is on a corner lot, and you can see we already had a CA regarding the rock wall that we're showing here. So the house is very elevated from the street. We're talking 5 to almost 6 feet at that corner, which is the maximum. So as you move along and drive up Dewey here, as it's simulating, you really get a sense of the back of the house. And of course, we'll have some more landscaping. It's been removed for clarity here. We've actually, increased the opacity of those trees so you could see it. The idea here for the homeowner, she didn't have a good way to get to her garage, which is where they park. And the entryway into the kitchen, it basically just puts you right into the dining room at the rear. So she wanted a little mud room. That's what the bottom story addition is there. So the addition is that tall, skinny part to the left. And the porch, this rear porch that we've created here, would give her that little buffer from exterior to interior. Give her a little space to, unlock her door without getting rained on. What I thought was really important here was, for the design, was to stay true to the architecture of the home, which is high craftsman. It's got beautiful open-ended rafters, knee brackets, you name it. This house has a belly band trim board. It's got corner trim pieces on the lower level, mitered corner siding on the upper level. So, there's a lot going on here, and I thought in the addition that it needed to pick up most of those elements, and especially the belly bands and the open-ended rafters, not to try to pretend that it's historic, but only to augment the architecture that we already find in this house. And given that you do get to see the house from the east, this covered porch really, in my mind, serves to create another level for the eye, rather than just have a stark two-story addition on the back. This porch begins to fill some of that visual, that spatial distance in your field of vision. So I noticed some of the items that the staff brought up was, that maybe this is a little too fancy, a little too high design. I would venture to say that even though it's at the rear, paying homage to the architectural as a whole, to me, was really important. It's a much smaller porch than the front porch, less than half of the size, the gable itself. Yes, the columns match, but we have now 3 porches. To me, it seemed odd to not repeat that element in the rear porch, now all 3 facades being visible from the street. So I'd be happy to take any questions or talk about any of the staff items. One thing that didn't show up on this rendering that is unfortunate, but it shows up in your elevations, we would do a vertical trim board very similar to your corner trim board that you see at all the existing corners. We would run that vertically on the west side where the addition begins. This is a very small addition, guys. We've only got I'm sorry, it escapes me right off the top of my head. I don't want to say it wrong. 280 square feet over 2 floors, so it's 140 down and 140 up. The porch does fill in some of what used to be an existing porch, and then it gains about 4 feet to the rear in order for us to get a little walkway over to the new mudroom. Right there. So you can see there on the left where we start to make that addition would be a vertical trim board piece, and I'm sorry that's just not reflected here, but it would certainly, it's proposed and it's included in our documentation. This was just a little something extra for us to visualize, especially Pat. She needed a little help.
I'm sorry. Is the vertical trim board, is that to help differentiate the old structure from what's being built?
That's correct. That's correct. The staff mentions that, the rear should be secondary, including those architectural elements. I'm not saying that that's not a valid guideline because it's observed in the neighborhood. That's certainly the case. But I think that it's kind of a resultant of the fact that most houses aren't seen from the rear, and so money was spent toward the front back when these were originally built. I just think this is it demands a bit more design because it is so visible from 180 degrees or more from that Dewey Street-scape. So,
I agree with the staff on that, Molly, that the differentiation is to preserve the original house and to, from now on. So I agree with the staff's recommendation on that. That's the way I would.
Well, one thing to that porch, when we say that there's no, I mean, it's literally tacked on. The existing building, that's a great vantage point. So that all remains true. The corner with the knee brackets that faces east, the shed roof corner, which is actually an interior bathroom with that wraparound square windows, all of that remains true. It stays exactly the way it is. I took great effort to locate that porch in such a way that it has the least impact on the siding, the belly band, and any of the existing window trim. It won't be touched. I mean, literally, we can just frame this directly into the face of that and come straight out and not have to rework much of the existing siding, that the existing doors, windows, all remain. So, even though we're picking up some older elements.
I think to me, I think we were talking about, it's not so much differentiation, is that usually the back of the house is secondary to the front. And now, I understand what you're saying, it's viewed from the street, and I like it, but the back,
so just because it's
the back is hardly secondary to the front anymore.
It's much smaller.
But really, it's almost
much
it's
smaller.
almost identical to the front in style and character. You look at the back of the house now; it's much simpler than the front.
That's correct.
Right.
It is much simpler.
So what you've done looks very nice, but by HP our guidelines, it kind of violates that. I don't see it so much as not being differentiated because you have usually separated by an offset or something. You've done it with a board, and by add-ons, you didn't expand the building directly. You added onto it in small elements. So to me, it's differentiated, but it's not secondary to the front. I think that's what everybody. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, Holly, I really like it.
I like it.
I really like it. So, I'm inclined to try to help you, make it more secondary. I mean, so is there a way it could stay the same and change something such as
the brick.
Maybe not copy the brick.
Yeah.
Do a wood column instead of the brick column. And then it would be, I mean, you did a really good job, and I mean, the video is proving of that. I love the way that, you do drive down the street and you see that second floor, it all flows very nicely, but, I really probably am more opinionated on the, of an architect being allowed to express themselves when you have an addition, so that,
You're asking me to make it ugly.
No.
It can be
I don't
done.
think that you're a bad
be done.
designer. I'm just saying, the whole reason in my thought is when we make people replicate things that are historic and then we confuse the public, that we're actually not allowing you as a designer to express yourself. That doesn't mean it has to be so distinctly different that it's like a modern addition on a historic house. But, the only way I can think of it is, and Alan said the same thing, we just don't want to fool the public into thinking that, to me, that's kind of our goal. The public walking down the street that's never seen it says, oh, that is an awesome historic home. Instead of saying, that is, oh, look at the historic house, and, you can, and seeing the addition. It's hard.
Well, and
I
I will,
particularly when it's so well done, Holly.
Thank you so much.
To me, the brick, if the brick could be, that could be done with wood, I think that would help a lot to more emphasize the front of the house.
I suppose, and it goes back to being a designer, which I know everybody here probably has a lot of experience. But to me, an addition, I know the historic homes are a bit different, but I have always been taught that although it should look, it shouldn't unauthentically pretend to be something it isn't, but at the same time, it should suit the building. And to me, introducing new...
If this was across the street from a historic district, I'd be going, yay, you did a great job. But that's not our job here. Our job here is to make sure that Heritage Hills retains its original feel and that we're not confused over time, if we let everybody do this with all of their additions, which we already kind of do sometimes, in my opinion, then we're just continuing little by little to distort our district into looking like something else, particularly in this boom here that we're having on additions and new construction. I mean, the impact on our original district is, it's a sacred trust that we're here to protect, and so this is a problem. Even though we love it, I mean, we all,
I understand
everybody
the
here
front
likes it, but we just, it's not, if you read go back to the standards, to the section that discusses additions, it's hard, but it's a must when you come to
Well, I
historic
think
districts.
that's you all's discretion. Yes,
you did a great job, but it's not going to work on this one. I
would argue that it is, in fact, secondary. I mean, this is the smallest little bump. The addition itself is very small
That's
by
why I'm
comparison.
looking at it again here, is to see.
And then the porch is smaller than both of the other porches. It's much smaller. It does have the same details and picks up on the same elements because, in my mind, as a designer, to introduce something new to this gorgeous house would be worse.
I think the addition is not really, the addition is...
But I mean, to introduce a new type of column at the rear, to me that would take away from the gorgeous elements of the home, more so than to repeat them in the rear. But what about a scaled down version, but staying with the materials that we see in the other columns? I mean, these are exactly the same.
Wood and brick. I mean, you've got, Linda's shaking her head. What do you think?
I think the back is just sort of overpowering. I'm the only one on here who thinks you should differentiate. But
Well, you should, but we've done it in lots of different ways, Linda.
I don't know.
We've done it in lots of different ways.
You see how the roof pitch, it comes off of that shed.
And then the back porch is, the roof pitch, the roof is sort of overpowering, and the bricks are sort of overpowering. So it's like that home almost reorients to the back to me, and then there's something about it
almost looks like a front house.
Yeah.
I mean, Holly, unfortunately, to side yard, corner lots always get more attention.
And rightly so.
I think they should get more design attention as well.
I mean, if this was in the middle of the block, it wouldn't be so distracting, but actually being on a corner lot, we're always harder on people.
I understand, and I think we can work toward making the porch seem more secondary.
If you're walking down the street on the side, you'd probably try to go in that porch because it looks like the entrance.
Right.
Well, and
so it needs to be,
Alan, the Craftsman style, this is a very...
It needs to be a back porch.
It's very prominent, so maybe try to turn it down, maybe.
I know that the front facade is sacred, and I couldn't agree more, and I think, you should always try to make that, hold really true and strongly to those. But to, not, even though it's a beautiful design, to not like it because it's too nice of a design seems so counterintuitive to keeping the neighborhood nice. You're basically asking me to take a more utilitarian approach to someone's home who to them they want to celebrate
in any other case, I think we would all be applauding your effort, but we have guidelines. I mean, that's just the end of that.
I'm making an argument that it is secondary. It's much smaller.
It's an opinion, and I think that the opinion up here is that it's not.
That it's not.
For the same things. I'm a neophyte compared to everybody else up on this horseshoe in terms of architectural design and knowing all of that. And as someone who is not as familiar with it, when I saw this, I thought, it does look like a front porch structure. And I think to people that are just walking down the street, they are going to have that same kind of, not as sophisticated level of thought when they see it. I guess I think it's weird to ask somebody to tone down the design, but we've done that before. High style stuff. Everything matches really well here, but I guess I'm in agreement with my fellow commissioners that it needs to be a back porch.
Less attractive.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it that way, but you
Well,
tone
we have
down a little
confidence
bit.
in you.
That's absolutely true. That's why I keep coming back every month.
I think maybe instead of thinking about making it ugly, think about it kind of like when we build garages. We don't want people that had a very utilitarian, modest garage to come in and build a big, grand, ornate carriage house, because that's not what that building was. That doesn't mean we want it to be ugly. It can still be attractive and charming.
Simple.
And
Think
appropriate
simple.
materials.
Simple.
But, of the character that it would have been.
Mm-hmm.
That helps.
No, I think things can be done. So as far as the size of the porch itself, that's not what it is. It's more the material embellishment that is seeming to combat with the front porch. It's not the size, because again, it is quite a bit smaller, so we're thinking just maybe remove the knee brackets, do a more simple column. Is that the direction that I'm hearing is best?
I don't think I have a problem with the size.
I don't have a problem with size, but the brick.
Architecture. Right.
So simplify the elements.
Simple.
Simplify.
Addition, more secondary to the
Yes, please. Well, the addition is quite small. Yeah, it's 10 by 12. It's very
10 by
small.
12.
Or maybe you're right. I'm sorry.
If you
You
look
said
at the back of
140,
the
something
house,
like that.
140 up, 140 down. So it's a relatively small addition. We did need to align it with that west wall. It's usually my preference to step it in. However, I will say we're very close to the neighbor on that side, and so we'll use a trim board to, create a separation between the old and new. But yeah, I mean, to me, the two-story addition was pretty straightforward, pretty similar to what is typical of the neighborhood. But I knew the porch would give us some pushback. But again, I just didn't want this to drag down the overall beauty of the home, because it is so highly visible from the street.
you can do it.
So are we going to, would that be a continuance on the whole thing?
Holly has one more question to answer.
Sure.
Did you find evidence of the...
So it looks like we're going toward a continuance anyway, so that'll buy me some more time. Guys, I know Angela had mentioned that there are, some old mastic or something on this side of the brick. The homeowner has actually the cast stone cap from one of the low brick wall or brick columns, the one that's in the center on the front porch. She has that piece. She has all the brick. She's certain, she remembers seeing a picture with that corner continued. So I'm going to do my best to keep looking. We just haven't been able to
Dig a hole. I mean, there has to be some kind of foundation or something under there.
Don't count on it.
Well, now we could do some excavation.
There wasn't any foundation in mine.
Well, she's going to have to be doing some...
I mean, it fits so perfect with your drawing. I mean, it looks like it should have been. I mean, why wouldn't it have been? I wonder...
I think what's happened...
Can you look under where the roof is? Because, those two pieces would have...
That's actually why I think it was removed, because it wasn't covered. At one point, they came in and covered this trellis, which when it was constructed, I'm sure it was open, but that corner was left...
I think you're right.
Yeah, and I think the wood rotted, and they got tired of repairing it.
So go back. What did you propose?
So we'd like to...
Is it a tall column?
No, it's a low column.
It's
It comes just above the hand railing, probably about 32 inches above the finished floor of the porch. It's quite a bit taller from the grade, because again,
It would match...
Yeah, and it's represented here. It would match the center column of the front porch.
It would match the half column on the left side of the porch.
I don't know why. We're missing a corner, so that looks incredibly wide there for some reason, but it shouldn't. Like, the corner line is just...
Okay, so it would be open.
It's open, correct. It is open.
On the sides of the brick, you're not seeing anything like there was a porch attached?
Yes.
You saw it?
Yes, and the staff mentions it in their report as well. But we just can't find a physical picture showing how it was there. I mean, like I said,
I mean, it makes sense to me. I mean, if you had indications that there were railings, did you see it?
Oh, it, yeah.
I mean,
Right there. So,
right there.
The point to make here is that that line of deterioration also aligns with the face of the porch on the other side, as if, you know, it would have been on the other side. And I know water damage, it was an issue at that corner, just based on the deterioration of some of the roof rafters and the deck itself. So, you know, she and I have talked about some wood composite opposite.
You said there's a capstone?
Yes, she has the cast stone cap currently at her house, and all the bricks from this low column. They're just stacked up in the back of her house. She'd love to reinstall it, but she understands the burden of proof is on us, so that's where we're at.
I mean, you're close for me on that one.
Okay.
Okay.
We're going to continue?
Make a motion to continue HPCA 200021 to the...
May?
I'll take April. I think I can revisit that in time. Yeah. Guys, you know, my clients are always leaning on me, and we're already been delayed a little, so.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks so much for all your comments.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, moved by Joe Meacham, seconded by Taylor Fudge. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Then continued to April. On to the last, D12.
Right, HPCA 20-22 at 801 Northwest 17th Street, Mesta Park, Ward 6. Consideration and possible action on application by Jamie Allen, Blue Haven Pools, for James Pickens for certificate of appropriateness to 1, install pool, spa, and mechanical equipment, elective, and 2, install new fence, elective.
Hello.
And I'm James Pickens. I'm the owner at 801 Northwest 17th Street.
Okay.
That's just while everyone's contemplating, this is kind of an unusual property that is at a corner where the street curves around, so the lot is kind of a pie-shaped lot, and the property owner owns kind of another lot to the side of the house, creating a larger than typical side yard.
Right.
And would you like for me to tell you my thoughts?
Yes.
I've talked to Angela about this recently. I was hopeful I would be able to keep the fence where it presently is, but it sounds like in all likelihood you'll want me to move it. So I talked to my pool designer. We came up with an alternative plan so I can push the fence back. If you go on the basis of my home and going back, the current fence line is, the east fence line is the part that's in question. The current fence line is sitting on the back side of the front column of the porch. If I go by the guidelines, I will have to pull it back 6 feet behind the front of the house. That would move the fence line back approximately 13 feet 8 inches. And I talked to my pool designer. He did come up with a secondary design, I think just last week, but came up with a secondary pool design that we could pull it back 13 feet 8 inches, which would be 6 feet behind the front of the house. That will put the fence about 11 inches onto the chimney. That's where it would be abutting against. I don't know if there'd be any consideration to move that forward 11 inches, or if we need to stick absolutely to the 6 feet.
I think we'll need to see your new site plan.
Yeah, and I'll give you another site plan for it. I know from talking to Angela, the other issue would be the north abutting property. The north abutting property is approximately 79 feet from my home. There is actually a full lot in between my house and her house. We share a half lot each of Lot C and the original edition, the University edition. They're 75 feet apart. Again, I live at the junction of 18th and Chartel, so we basically are on a curve. Her house sits clearly behind my house because of the curve. I'm not sure how you want to evaluate the abutting property and how my fence line would sit behind her porch, and that probably is, something for you to consider.
It'd be good to see the adjoining lots.
One thing that I had brought up with Angela was the only way I could think of it was maybe just what I call line of sight, where I took my camera. I can show you a picture of it if you like. But I took my iPhone, took a picture off the front of my front column to the front column of hers, line of sight. And where the fence line would be, it just sits just slightly behind where that line of sight would be. But yeah, that would be the question: is the north abutting property, and how, is that going to be an issue or not?
An aerial photograph would be good too.
Know what?
An aerial photograph would be good too, to show where everything is.
I don't have multiple copies, but I have maybe one copy of each.
Well, when you resubmit the site plan, an aerial photograph would be good to have included.
Okay. Yeah, and I can do that too. But yeah, that would be the question: is the line of where that fence would be. Right. My challenge for you guys, and this is why I don't want to have to come here too many times if I can avoid it, is realize that side yard. As you go farther west, that side yard narrows considerably, and as you get past the back of the back side of the house, or what I'd consider the back side of the house, that northwest corner, you start running into utilities, including the sewer line, the electrical line. The back of the house, I think I estimated, I don't know exactly where the property line would be, but I estimated approximately 26 feet width of my side yard from the edge of the house to the to the fence. And once you take away a 6-foot setback in a side yard and the width of the utilities that are sitting there, because all the air conditioning units are there, it only leaves about 15 feet. So if I push the pool design any farther back past the back of the house, it'll be almost impossible to really create a pool that's a regular size pool.
Okay.
So I mean,
Are you saying
I guess what it comes down to is I'm hoping for some input from the board about it, because the pool design clearly does change the farther I push that fence line back.
Well, like I said, I need to see the aerial, how the whole thing. I can't visualize everything you're saying.
Okay. Do you want to see an aerial view if I've got a single copy of it?
Well, I think you're going to have to you're going to continue. It'd be good to see it for the next month.
And I guess that's what I'm saying is if you're not happy with where we're pushing the fence back, and I have to push it back further, the pool design will change, and I don't even know if I can really get a pool back there.
If he puts the fence where he says, is the fence then okay?
It would be,
Yeah.
well, I'm saying, I think the two questions, the two issues was that I believe you want me to move the fence line back at least 13 feet 8 inches, which would be 6 feet behind the front of the house, excluding the porch. So to go back 13 feet 8 inches.
Is that?
The only other issue was the north abutting property and how much of that is an issue about where that fence line is.
So transparent fencing is required to be back 6 feet from the front wall of the house, and it's also required to sit behind the front porch of an adjacent structure. And as we've talked about, it's kind of hard to evaluate where that line is when the street is curving as opposed to just a straight across block. Now, the other piece that goes along with that is that's for a transparent fence, which then allows visibility of anything that you introduce into the side yard, such as a swimming pool. A site-proof fence would have to be located much farther back. So I think the commission needs to, can hopefully give some guidance on the location of a structure such as a pool in the side yard with a transparent fence. That will also help guide where the fence needs to be located, where the pool needs to be located.
Yeah, and the type of fencing, if it's transparent along that north line of fence, I don't have a problem with making it transparent. So it is transparent at least 40% the width of the, or the depth of the house. I don't have a problem with that. It's really more if I have to push the fence back much farther, we're going to be, it'll be next to impossible to truly get a regular pool back there unless it was a lap pool.
Okay, my question is, you're saying you had a sightline picture kind of thing. Are you saying that if you go back, which I can see it on your drawing, halfway into the chimney and then you go straight north,
yeah,
are you going to be in any way in front of your neighbor's house or not? You're saying he would still be in front.
From just line of sight, it's just right there, it's just slightly back.
I mean,
if you say with the curve of the street, yeah, I will be in front of her house because her house is behind mine, but it's because of the curve of the street.
Right. I mean,
that's weird.
I think that we could give a little leeway there on a weird site if, it's a possibility, but you're close there. I mean, I would come back with the plan with the 13 feet back.
I thought you had more, I live close to you. I thought you had more land in the back, but you don't. There's a, is that, that's your...
I have, let me just look at this. Angela, help me, I'm not sure. The area behind the garage, is that still considered side yard or backyard?
That's backyard.
Okay. The area behind the garage, the challenge with that is width, because that lot continues to narrow back there. And also I have my sewer line runs adjacent to the sidewalk behind the garage. And then the main electrical line for the house runs diagonal through that area. It could be moved, but with the width, the side yards, well, I don't know what that, I guess it would be considered a side yard setback. It's not going to leave hardly any width at all if I push it all the way back behind the garage. Plus I'll have to, I'm not sure what I'll do with the electrical line. And my sewer line, there is no room for it.
You have a lot of house on that lot, too. That's a really big, pretty house.
It is.
Yeah.
That's a beautiful house.
Yeah, thank you.
Are we motioning to continue and then pending new site plans and all of that? Does that sound right?
Is there any guidance on the visibility of the pool in the side yard?
Well, we have pools facing the front with that kind of fence in Heritage Hills.
I'm comfortable with it.
It does.
I mean, it doesn't
Oh,
keep,
I think.
it also doesn't keep them from putting as much landscaping on the other side of the fence that they
That
want
would be
to.
our intent, is we would
Right,
put
that was
vegetation.
the other one I know of does the same thing.
For me, on the side, you're not supposed to put it on the side yard. I mean, you know that. I mean, it says in the standards guidelines not to do that, but it depends on if you put the Taj Mahal over there, or if you put something that at least, and thank you for doing your fence properly, that's not like, it doesn't look like, Trump Tower. I mean, that it's not so,
You had to go there.
just so structured and so obvious and so modern and so, some people have managed to sort of make it almost look like a garden, which is good too. That's kind of where I'm landing on it, because you don't have any room.
Yeah.
There's no plan for additional structures.
We had talked about a pergola. If I have to wait on that, I'll be happy to wait on that.
Well, but you're going to give us a complete plan of your pool, right?
Yeah, I can give you a new plan. I need to give Angela more details about.
And when you do it, I just pulled up the aerial. Show it.
And that's what I've got.
Show it on the aerial so we can see how it relates to the other.
Okay. I mean, would you like to see the?
Well, I can see it right here, but I'm talking about when you lay the new thing out. Let's see how it fits.
Oh, I see.
Let's see how it fits with everything else. It is kind of unusual, that curves.
The one question specifically about the pool was we would like to have, and I think it's in the plan there, is that we would like to have a raised wall that has a water feature in it that's 2 feet tall.
Is it in the back?
It's on the north side of the pool, the north edge.
It's all in
of
the
pool.
side yard.
I can
He doesn't have a
reduce
backyard.
the
It's not
height.
up front. He's not going to have a big pool and mermaids and.
That's pretty low.
It's 2 feet. I can reduce the height if you like. We were just wanting a
I
water
think you're
feature.
fine. You're very helpful, though.
12-foot height on the spa, on the jacuzzi. And correct. Okay.
That's in the back of the pool anyway. I mean, it's not the Chartel side, right?
Well, it's the north wall of the pool.
Is that toward Homeland?
Huh? No. No, that's the west side.
Okay. Let me look at it again.
It's the north side of the pool, which is towards that abutting property on the north side.
Okay.
Okay, it's getting late. Is there a motion?
Hey, can I do the April one if I choose to? I've got a lot of it, and I just got to get a few more details, which I'm luckily off this weekend, so I'll work on it. April.
You got to stay home anyhow because of the fires.
Yeah, isolate. Self-isolate.
I can't isolate. I'm the medicine.
Okay.
I'll second.
Okay, so moved by John Meacham, second by Taylor Fudge. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, been continued to April. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I just learned something, that there's a guideline that says no Taj Mahals, right? Yeah.
Okay, so the
On to
next
7.
items under other business, we have numerous
Thank you.
Board of Adjustment cases. The first 3 are all at one property. It's 3 different apartments in an existing apartment building in Heritage Hills East. And they have to do a separate special exception application for each unit in which they want to home share. So that's why you have 3. This is an area of the historic district that is zoned HL, not HP. It's the overlay. The base zoning does allow for multifamily. They need a special exception because it's not their place of their primary residence. But the regulations that we talk about frequently with these in HP, where the owner has to be on site at the time of rental and it has to be their primary residence, don't apply in HL. So we're just providing a recommendation to the Board of Adjustment on these.
So are they incorrect?
Yes, I think the comments from the neighborhood didn't understand that it was, they were not aware that the zoning is different for that portion.
Okay.
So we do need a separate motion for each item, but it's the same
Can't say ditto.
property. Just make motions really
I'll make the
fast.
motions, if y'all are ready.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to recommend.
I think Linda has a comment.
Are we going to include the neighborhood comments?
I will forward those to Board of Adjustment staff, and that's what we usually do when something has to go to BOA and we've received comments from the public. We forward that on so they can include it in their packet.
Okay, go ahead, Joe.
I make a motion to recommend approval of BOA 14714 North Robinson, Unit A1.
Okay, is there a second? Second. Moved by Joe Meach, seconded by Taylor Fudge. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, recommended. Next.
I make a motion to recommend BOA 14705 at 1710 North Robinson, Unit B2.
I will second that as well.
Moved by Joe Meach, seconded by Taylor Fudge. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, recommended.
I make a motion to recommend approval of BOA 14706 at 1710 North Robinson, Unit C3.
Second.
Moved by Joe and Taylor. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, that's recommended also.
The next one, BOA 14711, is at 529 Northwest 22nd Street, Mr. Parkland 6. This is a property that is instituted to the requirement that it be the host primary residence and that they be on site while renting the property do apply in this district. This is a property that the application is for a tenant of the home, but it is a tenant primary residence, which meets that requirement for home sharing. The portion of it that does not appear to meet the requirements is that they did not intend to be on site at the time of rental. It's a small home, it's 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and their intention was to rent it out when they were
Gone.
so that is why the staff envisioned it what it is for itself. That was a piece of the ordinance that was hotly debated and was important to the historic districts.
Okay.
Given that this is not consistent with that requirement, it seems
Okay.
appropriate to recommend.
I'll make a motion to recommend denial for case number BOA 14711 based on the fact that the owner will not be occupying the premise
When being rented.
when rented.
Second.
Okay. Moved by Taylor Fudge, a second by Linda Schultz. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay.
Can I just say
Item
one
is
thing?
denied.
Who told,
Recommended for denial.
who said that a tenant could get a 10-year permit to have a home sharing? I mean, that doesn't even make sense to me. Did the legal department say that?
I believe Laura McDevitt said that that was her interpretation. So you can be, as long as it is your permit is for the host, and the host has to be, it has to be the host's primary residence.
Doesn't go with the address.
Well, I think it goes with both, is how I understand it.
So Laura is the attorney for the Board of Adjustment, and so she would be advising the board, and if that's what she told them, then that's what they'll be hearing.
That doesn't make any sense. It doesn't.
If that tenant wasn't there, then it would not be,
No, it would stay with the house, doesn't it?
no, it wouldn't stay with the house.
The person makes the application, and it's for their use of the land. Most zoning things do run with the land, but because this one is unique, a new person might have to be able to say to the board that they are also going to be in the house, and so that wouldn't carry over from the previous owner, because the subsequent owner might not have that same plan.
But I'll bet there's no mechanism for
That's
that.
probably not.
And I think that's reason enough for us to deny it, too. There's no mechanism to force it. Okay, thank you.
And we did it.
I will try and find more information about that, though, just to be
Okay.
able to verify.
Next. E.
So E, this one is confusing, and I've told Rita if she has to talk. So there is a provision in the municipal code that applies broadly, not just for HP, that says that if your platted setback is greater than what the zoning requires, you have to meet the platted setback shall be enforced.
Which one are we looking at?
This house is built forward of the platted setback, according to the applicant. I have not actually seen a detailed site plan that illustrates that. So theoretically, if this house were to burn down and they were to come and ask to reconstruct it, that provision of the code would not allow them to build it back in its existing location. It would force them to set it farther back. Apparently, this is something that comes up when people are refinancing and that sort of thing, that lenders identify things that are non-conforming. They ask the property owners to address those in some way. They have no intention of demolishing the home or replacing it or burning it down. The other interesting factor with this one is that it's not a historic house. It was built in the 70s. So staff did not actually provide a recommendation. We provided comments that essentially the plats are part of what shaped the historic districts and are very important. They're legal documents that function separately from zoning and that are still legally enforceable, and kind of that we want to be cautious about making decisions that seem to invalidate the enforcement of them, but that in a case where it's a historic house that doesn't meet the plat, but it's been there for 100 years, we would want to identify ways to facilitate compliance. And I'll leave it to other legal experts to determine how to do that.
Take a pass on this one and say, I'm sorry, we don't have enough information or ability to give a good recommendation.
Yeah. Well, so do you have an opinion about historically speaking?
It's too confusing.
Historically speaking, what do you think of a property that is not built the way that the plat describes? If it had to be somewhere, somehow, but how do you feel about that? And that's what they're asking. They'll make their own decision based on how they interpret.
So basically, we're saying that we think the plat is important for the historic.
And you could say that. You could say the historic plat is significant.
What's their?
Well, maybe not, because
their
if he's
decision.
Applying right now.
But I mean, in the future, if it did burn down, it would come before us again, and we would not be held to, we could make a decision because we say we can make exceptions. We could leave it where it was, or we could say, no, move it back.
We're not making a decision.
The design and what the...
We're not making a decision. We just tell them what we think is important.
Right. That's all that you're doing now is telling them what you think.
Just like to me, it's like being appropriate or not.
Because the house is there, it's not burned down. And if he's granted a variance now, the thing that would come before you would be the design, because the variance would already be there. So
they need to balance the...
So the part they want from you is what you think about this historic property possibly being rebuilt in a manner that's inconsistent with the plat.
And I think that
consistent with
its current condition, which might not be historic.
May or may not be historic.
I don't know who wrote it, but I like the staff's comments. And they just say, think about this. We think it's important.
Yeah, you can say that you think it's important, but also, didn't we look at the line where this set? Didn't this house line up with all the rest of the houses on
It's hard to tell from the aerial if the house, because usually when you're meeting that platted building line, your porch projects forward of that, and it's difficult to tell if some of those houses, what's projecting forward is a porch,
it's gonna be vice chair.
whereas this one's all the way up at the front and there is no porch.
Whoever's not here. Damn.
So.
Joe?
I think honestly, to make a clear recommendation on this property, we would need much more detailed site plans. We would need comparison drawings for the properties to decide if we were actually being asked to approve new construction, for instance.
New construction.
But I don't know. In the recommendation, I tried to lay out some just kind of thoughts that I thought were applicable to HP. And you all can forward those comments or modify them or make no recommendation.
I would make a motion to forward the staff's comments regarding BOA 1472-1 to the Board of Adjustment.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
All right, it's been moved by Joe Meacham, second by Taylor Fudge, to forward the staff's recommendations to the Board of Adjustment. Is that who it is, Board of Adjustment?
Board of Adjustment,
Yep.
yes.
Okay, now we have a certified local government application.
Okay, this is our annual grant that we get from the State Historic Preservation Office. Nope, that was the last BOA one.
Yeah.
Which one do you have?
We just voted on E. Now we're going to F.
That's the one we just,
That was the 2-bed, 1-bath. The brown, did you already do that?
Yeah,
yep. Yep.
F.
So this is our grant application that we do every year for funding from the State Historic Preservation Office to do various preservation activities. It pays for things like attendance at and travel to conferences. It pays for survey work and National Register nominations. This is what we use to do the Capitol Hill Historic District nomination that was just awarded today. What we have proposed this time around is to do some survey work in areas that were just designated as part of the city's Strong Neighborhood Initiatives program, because that directs a lot of funding and city resources to those areas, and it'll help with review requirements as we're working with those neighborhoods.
I just want to point out that the agenda item is numbered wrong. It says D.
Oh, okay.
It's actually
In your,
F.
on your staff report?
Yep.
Sorry.
On the report,
yeah. We've got a National Register nomination in there for the Pachyderm building at the zoo, which is very exciting. And then beyond that, I think it's mostly just travel and training, funding, workshops, et cetera.
So we need a motion to recommend this.
Yep.
I would
So
make
you-
a motion to recommend forwarding CLG subject application to City Council for approval, and authorizing the Historic Preservation Chair to sign the application on behalf of the commission.
Okay, is there a second?
I will.
Okay, it's moved by Joe Meacham, second by Linda Schultz. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? All right, that's recommended. And now, down to the fun part. We decided to go ahead and elect a new chair.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
I nominate Taylor Fudge as the new chair. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Aye, opposed? Okay, Taylor, you are.
If I said no, I mean, if I say nay or whatever it is,
Depends on the vote.
yeah, I know. I think
I'm surprised it was that. I'm surprised it was that easy. But now we need a vice chair, and anybody interested?
You know what? We need somebody else to make that motion, not you, because you're the chair.
Okay.
Oh, he can nominate, but someone else needs to make the motion.
No,
Okay.
I make the motion to elect, I guess, is that right now? Yeah.
Sure.
You're nominating him.
I'm nominating
Wait,
him.
Okay.
Are we back in the chair thing?
Yes.
What did I do wrong?
Well, he suggested the nomination, but I guess someone else has to make the...
Oh.
Chair, you don't get to
Okay.
Oh, I don't get to do that. That's right. That's right.
I nominate Taylor Fudge to be the new chair for the Historic Preservation.
Is there a second? Can't be Taylor.
Wait, if this is in the second one, do you ask if there are other nominations?
Okay. Are there other nominations? I didn't think so.
Now.
Did I get a second yet? Okay. Is there a second? Second by Linda Schultz. All in favor?
Okay.
Aye. Okay. Now you're official. Am I still chair till next month, or is he taking over?
Who takes over?
Okay, take over.
get to be done, though, right?
Yeah, you're in, buddy.
I'm still on it, but you're now in charge.
Okay.
Go for it, buddy.
Oh, show him the gavel.
Oh, here's the gavel.
Yeah.
You get to bang it at the beginning and at the end.
There we go. Good.
So
You can use the
vice chair,
microphone.
Klaus has been vice chair previously, right? Am I making that up? Klaus is vice chair now.
I thought
Or no,
Taylor
you're
was-
vice chair
I'm
now.
vice chair now.
Yeah.
Vice chair now.
Klaus has been,
Oh, Neil has been vice chair. Klaus has kind
Neela.
of pitched in the past.
Yeah.
I would second that.
Because he's not here. Okay, go, you can second it. You're now the chairman, so go.
Okay.
Go for it. Now, you got a motion, a second.
Oh, what do I?
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye?
Okay.
All
Motion's moved.
all opposed?
All
No.
opposed?
Okay. All right, Klaus, you're now the vice chairman. Okay. Now, we're down to the end, and you need to say, there's a few more items on there. Go through the last.
We have lots and lots and
Section
lots of
8.
administrative approvals. Don't ask any questions about any of them. No, feel free to contact staff if you have questions about anything. Same goes for withdrawals, administrative closures. We had 2 items go to, for Board of Adjustment recently. The proposal at 439 Northwest 19th for the parking cover carport was appealed to Board of Adjustment. Board of Adjustment denied the appeal, so the Commission's decision was upheld on that. And then
No carports.
the Board of Adjustment case to demolish the house at 104 Northwest 20th was withdrawn, and the property was acquired by the Neighborhood Association. So they are, I think, marketing it, and we'll see what comes next from that. Planning Commission, I don't have anything on here, but Preserve OKC did the preservation plan, went to a final study session February 27th, and is anticipated to go to Planning Commission for adoption March 26th. Nothing to report on ad hoc committee to identify potential landmarks.
Okay, Rita, anything from the municipal counselor's office?
Not a single thing, except for congratulations.
Oh, thank you, I think.
Oh, we got eyes from Commissioner. I want to say something when we get down there. Oh, thank you. Lame duck. Oh, dead duck, actually.
So next meeting date, regularly scheduled meeting, Historic Preservation Commission, April 1st, 2020 at 2 p.m. here in the municipal building. Do I need to indicate new applications and all that stuff too?
I always do.
New applications for this meeting will need to be received by March 3rd, 2020. New information on projects continued from today's meeting to the upcoming meeting must be submitted to staff by 4 p.m. Tuesday, March 10th, 2020. Is that date correct?
That date is not correct.
Nope.
And then I'd say you could skip 2 because that workshop was,
Okay.
we're past that, and we'll update.
Yeah, I guess it's March 13th, so it would be hard to have our next meeting March
Yep.
10th.
Yep.
Do we need to modify that date, or what do we do with that?
We can record in the
April 1st.
minutes the changes to those dates that were
Okay.
accurate.
Any other items from commissioners?
I've got one. Congratulations in order to Katie. She has a new position. She's not abandoning us, though.
No, we're not.
What is it again?
It's Principal Planner, Division Manager for Current Planning and Urban Design. So it's Lisa's former position. I'm going to keep HP. I'm going to still do HP, and we'll kind of shuffle around who's doing what, but I'll be moving next door to a different office and things like that. So I'm still going to do HP.
Yeah.
Very cool.
That's the plan. So,
we were worried. I was worried.
Planning session? I don't know. Most of us were there anyway. Katie made a presentation on just a kind of bigger vision about historic preservation and what it means to all of the participants on all of the boards there. That's really
at the training, the committee training.
really good.
Thank you.
Well, hopefully now, I'm sure it will, being in another position, you'll be able to carry that,
Infiltrating.
yeah, carry that torch.
I
And
watched the Board of Appeals kind of people, and people were really listening to that and thinking, I could tell they were sort of thinking about their own, how it was meaningful in their own decision making. So I thought it was really important.
I got 2 more things.
Oh, excellent. Any citizens to be heard? Nobody here, so probably not. And make a motion. I guess I wouldn't make a motion to adjourn.
I just adjourned, so
We will adjourn the meeting.
thank you.
Wow.
All right, the first gavel bang. Good job. God, I feel this tremendous relief.
we going to get new people, did you say?
So,
Turning off the lights, guys. Good night. Get started here real fast. It must be Jazz. Yeah, we're busy talking, so I didn't want to just drag her paper out from under her.
Dark in here. I've never been.
It's all right. I forget literally every time. Every time